Hello and welcome to the weekly Inside the Lab live experience, better known as our live show. We just rebranded it that, by the way. But nonetheless, we're here. Happy Saturday to you, right? Sort of a holiday weekend over here in the States where I'm at, but nonetheless, we had to keep the momentum going, keep things flowing. Plus, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about in terms of future content and hinting at the future here on the channel. So if you're just now joining us, be sure to stick around. On top of that, of course, we have our topic for this week's conversation or this week's live show or this week's live topic, if you will, and that's 5 things. We're gonna go over 5 things that I wish I would have known before I jumped into PC gaming, and that's more so in terms of modern PC gaming, but because I've been playing on PC games for a while, but once as an adult, with disposable income and disposable time, if you will, um, I wanted to make this switch from consoles over to the PC, and these are just some of the nuances or some of the things I experienced that you likely yourself have already experienced, or if you're here watching on the replay, shout out to our replay viewers, or you're here watching with us now and you just now joined us, welcome. I'm going to jump in the chat here just a few seconds just to say hello and greet everybody and welcome everybody to the show. But these are essentially 5 things that I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming, and 5 things that you should know or consider if you are preparing to make the switch and convert over from gaming on a console, most likely a PS4 because PS5s are still very much hard to find, or an Xbox Series S and X, which are also hard to find. So you likely are playing on a previous generation Xbox console. Rather, that's the OG classic Xbox One, or say like an Xbox One S, or the 4K version of the Xbox Elite, or whatever it was. Listen, we don't really talk consoles much around here. If you haven't known or if you don't know, but consoles very much do have their purpose, but PCs have character. So when you are ready to make that jump, right? There are 5 things, at least five. These are 5 of the most important factors you should take into consideration before you make the jump, right? So hypothetical individual for this scenario, let's say they have a PS4, right? It's almost 10 years old. It's pushing the 10-year mark, 10-year-old mark. So that hardware definitely it's starting to show its age. So regardless of the situation with graphics cards, if you have disposable income somewhere in excess of over $1,000, like even with the graphics card prices being what they are now, having a graphics card or a budget of about $1,000 could very much. I do apologize if the mic is popping. We're going to get to that later, but if you have a budget of over $1,000, then you very much could be in the market still for a dedicated video card with your setup. So, before you are interested in making that jump, there are 5 things you should take into consideration. 5 of the most important things you should take into consideration. That is what we're going to talk about in this video. And of course, if you are, an experienced builder or you've already experienced some of these things in your journey, or even if there are things you experience that I do not cover, I encourage you to share them in the chat. Excuse me, this is an interactive live stream, meaning that I like to engage with the community and engage with you in the chat. So if at any time you want to share in maybe some of the nuances you experience before you made the switch, or if there's something you experience even now after you've already built your system, at any time, do feel free to share with the community. And also, if you're a first time viewer, give me a hashtag first time viewer in the chat, or give me a hashtag first time viewer down in the comment section if you are watching on the replay. And before we jump in, I just want to give a little bit more time for a few more folks to join in. But I do want to say hello. I know Crazy 1K and Butterknife was in the chat before the show started, which one of them is my child, my daughter. Interesting stuff. Hello to you guys. I know you're not still on, but it was good to see you early birds early, of course. And Your Highness who popped in, it's good to see you, Your Highness. Your Highness. I could see already we have a few returning viewers, which is awesome. That really warms my heart. XLRA Gaming, who was Cliff. All right, Cliff says, afternoon, guys. Hey to everyone. Tying up some loose ends, so I'm going to lurk and listen for a spell. Much appreciated, Cliff. I appreciate you being here, of course. And Sparta Rule says, "Hey, what's up, brother? Anthony, it's good to see you here, and I will be shooting you a DM to give you an update on the address situation so we can get those parts shipped out ASAP, right? For those of you who don't know, I just want to interlude really fast here, and mention that I've been, talking to Sparta Rules 1993, which Anthony, I gotta send you the Discord link. Why are you not in the Discord, brother? But I gotta send you the Discord link over on Instagram. So remind me to do so when I hit you up. But I'm going to work with Spider Rules and likely maybe try to do a build series or more than one video around Spider Rules' journey. Like Anthony, you didn't even realize this, but it's not just about. I don't just want to document the build process. I mean, you have a journey of patience and just resilience that you waited and you got the parts that you essentially wanted. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to tell that story because there's so much more context that it can also be inspiring for, another individual who may be on the fence or, uninspired given to the situation that the market finds itself in right now with prices being as high as they are from on both the new market and both the used market. So it could be a turn off, but here you are, you have your build, the build of your dreams, and it's quite powerful. I look forward to doing that build videos. Build videos perform from a creator's perspective, if you will, from a YouTuber's perspective, if you will, and you more than likely saw this in some of your larger other favorite tech YouTubers, but build videos typically perform the best in this niche, in the PC gaming niche, or on at least on YouTube here. Build videos perform better than any other videos produced for even the larger tech YouTubers from the metrics that are physically public and from what I can see. And that's I can also testify to that here on my channel historically in this channel short lifespan. What are we in, fam? We're in year 3 here and in my 3rd year as a creator, but all of the build videos I've done here on the channel have progressively performed really well, better than any other videos or topics that I cover. So of course, I love doing build videos. They are the most expensive and time consuming to produce. I believe Brian over at BBS Customs had once mentioned this years ago before I even showed interest in getting into PC gaming. Brian over at BBS Customs had put out a tweet highlighting that same notion that the community loves to build videos, but they take so much time to produce. Usually it's more than one day between building the system, the production of the video, to planning of the video, which falls under production, but there's often planning involved before and after you build. Then you also have things that bog down the process or that can slow down the process or bottleneck the process, if you will, like installing Windows or updating the BIOS or updating the firmware, any graphic drivers, things of those natures, and most importantly, then downloading and installing the games, which those things are typically out of your hand. The two biggest factors in that, in terms of that, then would be your internet speed and of course how fast your storage drive is. But usually, even then, depending on what you're building, those things are out of your control. This is why I typically always, of course, try to benchmark on an SSD just to speed up that process. But build videos, regardless of that mini rant about them, are still my favorite to produce on the channel. I feel like I could tell a complete story or a journey of a particular build, starting from the parts, all of what's going into the build. How much did it cost? What was the journey in discovering the value within those parts? Are they new parts? Did we get them on sale, say like at a micro center at a lower price? Did we find a balance of new used price to performance? Like, did we blend, say, used video card on the market, brand new motherboard CPU bundle over on Micro Center or Newegg, or did you, buy a brand new graphics card and brand new motherboard and CPU, but you were able to pick up a case on the used market? That's what we call blending that, or yeah, blending that new used price to performance. So I feel like in discovering that new used price to performance, I can add that into the story of that build video, because the end results, which it's the reason why we all click on the video, before I started creating content, I uh, enjoyed the benchmarking part of the video because that is the information I essentially wanted to know the most was how well did this configuration perform in these games, especially if there was a high interest myself of wanting to play some of those similar games or some of the games that were being tested in the benchmark. So the end result is that's the end game. That's the means to an end. But just going over the parts and the journey of acquiring those parts and then showing you how the process of building. I mean, I can tell that in a much uh, in a better packaged product, right? A build video when I have all of that material to work with. So mini rant over. I do apologize, but yeah, I'm going to I'm going to build Spider Rules' build, and I'm going to document and highlight the journey. Very very uh, hype, or I'm really hyped to see the performance metrics on that configuration. So, Ant, I will be reaching out to you right after this live show or after the live stream, sometime around after that, if you're still here. And yeah, all right, so that's everybody. So again, I want to give it a little bit more time for people to jump in, but the theme for this week is 5 things that I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming. This kind of is a sequel to, or a sidewell. That's not a word, but it's not necessarily a direct sequel, but it's kind of like a spin-off. There you go. A spin-off of the live show we did where we talked about what are some things you should know before building your gaming PC because that's so much more a hands-on experience. Now, these are 5 things you should know whether you are building your system yourself or you have hired a system integrator to build it for you or you're buying a pre-built from say like Amazon or from another major retailer online, say directly from CyberPower or so I don't know why CyberPower is, or they need to pay me to start mentioning them. I don't know why CyberPower is the first one to always come to mind, but maybe you're buying a pre-built directly from the manufacturer. These are very much still 5 things that you should consider or you should know before buying that PC, before deciding on your monitor and all of those things. These are 5 things you should know. And now again, if you're here and you're watching on the replay and you made it this far, if you have any questions about anything we discuss at any point of the live show, do be sure to drop them down in the comment section below with a timestamp to help me find exactly the moment that you are referring to, which speaking of timestamps, I do add them at the conclusion of the live show, almost immediately after the live stream is up. I do add the timestamps. I go back and like a sports player, I will rewatch the live streams to see how well did I deliver the value that I was aiming to deliver to the audience, right? Like how well did I present that value to the community? And I am my own worst critic. Like I'm too hard on myself. Like to put it plain and simple, I am just too hard on myself. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist because I know that done is better than not good, or to something to that extent. I believe the saying is like done is better than good. So I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, but I do look back and I really critique the things I say and the things I do. But um, yeah, timestamps will be added at the end of this video to help you navigate through the live show and to help you maybe find 1 or 2 things that we talked about directly. So do keep a lookout for that in the comment section in the basement, aka the description box, along with other helpful links. Some of the links that we are going to discuss and talk about during this live show. But I tell you what, let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into it. And again, if you're just now joining us, welcome to the Inside the Lab Weekly Live experience, aka the Weekly Live Q&A show. If you have any questions at any time, again, this is an interactive live stream, so feel free to hit me up in the chat with your hashtag question, and I will do my best to help you. And if I am unable to help you, there are plenty of members here in this community that could share their experience and expertise in this field to maybe help you solve a problem or an issue you're having with your system or something that you're, if maybe there's a reason you're on the fence for making a switch over to PC gaming. That's one of the missions here on this channel, really, and this community, and that's to convert as many gamers over to the PC platform as possible, because we all share in the notion that generally this is the best way to experience your video games. I mean, games in general are made on a computer, in my opinion, for computers, but they are made on computers. So it's the best way to experience them, and that's the way they were made. So that's a lifelong mission here of mine, and that's to, nothing wrong with the console, but at some point you have to ask yourself, I'm ready to level up. I'm ready to switch. I'm ready to make the conversion over to the PC platform. I am intimidated by the idea of having to build something that requires electricity, or I'm unsure of what motherboard goes with what CPU. What kind of video card do I need? How many watts? What kind of power supply unit do I need? And what's the maximum wattage that I may need to power my system, or how should I cool it? Water, or what's the some of the cons to using an AIO? How many fans should I use? What kind of case, platform, or chipset, etc. Uh, so many things that could actually persuade you away from the platform. Here in this channel, in this community, our goal is to help you understand these misconceptions and clarify them, to help give you buying confidence, or just enough confidence you need to especially build your own system and even configure your own system. And now I'm here to tell you, especially if you're here on the replay, like shout out to our replay viewers. But if you are joining us now, or you're here on the live, you're here on the live, especially, you already follow me on social media. You can follow me on social media, and even outside of normal office hours, right? Like if you want to hit me quicker, definitely join our Discord. We're going to get to that in a second, how you can join our Discord. But if you want to hit me quicker, you're going to want to join our Discord. But I would love to help you with your questions, especially if you're in the process of checking out, and you want to make sure, first of all, what you're buying is compatible. Is it going to be enough for your needs? Right? Things of that nature. So you could always follow me on social media, ask me questions outside of environments like our live show, and I will do my best to help you in any way that I can. Because again, I want to help ease the feeling of uncertainty about switching over to PC, right? Like, um, will I be able will I have to spend a lot of money to even get a good gaming PC, right? Because we all have heard it before from those outside of the know, and it's really just an ignorant notion. It's just literally by definition not knowing that PC gaming has always been expensive. It's not necessarily just expensive now, it's always been expensive. But there are ways around that. So, yes, it's expensive, but you don't have to necessarily go all in all at once. So, a lot of these things we are going to cover in this live show. So, again, do be sure to stick around for the full duration of it. And I tell you what, let's jump right into the warm up here, starting with obviously our title card. Now, again, this topic, this week's live show is 5 things I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming. Now, I'm using myself, I'm saying I, but this can and very much could or will apply to you the viewer. It's either you the viewer or somebody you may know who could very much be on the fence. They're not ready to jump over. They're like, hanging on to the fence, and maybe they just need a little budge to help them get over the fence. They're like, on literally, when you hear that old adage, if you never heard of it, and they say, hey, I'm on the fence about buying that new sports car. I'm on the fence about, buying that new home, or I'm on the fence about buying that RTX 3090. You're not ready to quite jump over and commit to what's on the other side. You're more so like just hanging on. If you ever jumped a fence, right? If you ever like ran from a dog or otherwise, we're not going to get into that too much, but if you ever had to run from something chasing you, right? Whether it's on four legs or two, and you had to jump a fence or jump a gate, there's that split second or two you can just kind of balance and hang up there. And you're in fight or flight mode anyway, so you're going to jump over that fence because something's chasing you. So it's either you, I say I in this term, and and for the within context of this live stream. But insert you, right? This title can work: 5 things I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming, or 5 things you should know before getting into PC gaming. It works both ways, but I use I in a possessive form because these are some of the things I experienced as as a gamer, as a PC gamer or enthusiast before I even got into making content, and very much now as I manage a business around PC gaming and PC hardware building and troubleshooting and things of that nature, and just content overall. These are things that I still very much continue to experience as the platform evolves, right? As gaming evolves, you still very much need to stay in the know and knowing what's changing and what's coming because it's happening at an advanced rate. Excuse me, even with supply chains seizing up and drying up. But let's say again you are ready to switch. You're beyond frustrated with the graphic quality, right, or the lack thereof in consoles, unstable and immersion breaking FPS that leaves you shaky, right, and uninspired. Just like the uneven display of frames struggling to render at a playable frame rate, right? Or a playable, yeah, playable frame rate. What's playable to you? So you are ready to ascend to the pinnacle that is the best way of playing video games, right? As something that I was just mentioning, right? You are prepared to switch from that custom box, being a console. Again, no shade to consoles, they do have their purpose, but you are ready to switch from that custom box. And so, regardless of where you are at in your journey to that summit, what are a few things that I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming, and that you should know before wanting to get into PC gaming, right? That is what we are discussing in this live experience, right? While of course answering any and all of the questions you may have along the way. And again, if you're just now joining us, or if this is your first time, right? If this is your first time, do let me know with a hashtag first time in the comments down below for the replay viewers. Or if you are joining us at any point, you may hear me mention this more than once. But if you are here with us live right now and this is your first time, give me a hashtag first in the chat so that we may properly greet and welcome you here to the community at large and a community at whole, because again, this is an interactive experience and I am your conductor and operator of this here live. With that out the way, let's buckle up, let's jump right into it with the first piece of content card. And I also do want to shout out our moderator in the chat, Mrs. Mod, my wife and partner in crime, who is in the chat, also helping help welcome in any new viewers and helping me with any questions I may miss along the way. But before we dive too much into it, I'll tell you what, I didn't get our housekeeping ready. I didn't get our housekeeping together. Shame on me. I tell you what, it's got to be the weather. I'm not sure, I know we have viewers all over the world, all over the globe, and even all over the United States of America. But here it's been pretty rainy and just like gloomy. I personally I like this kind of weather, but I understand it's not for everybody. And summertime is approaching, and most people want to get back to being outside and being on the beach, things of being out on the beach and just being out in general. But here in this kind of environment and kind of weather, I actually really enjoy it. So yeah. But let me see here. I can bring it up, but let's see. Static stream. No. All right, here we go. Doing a little bit of live troubleshooting here. Don't mind me. All right, here we go. Now we can officially start the housekeeping segment. I do apologize, y'all. Again, welcome to the live stream. If you're just now joining us, we normally do this before we jump right into the meat and bones of the content. Again, I am an unmonetized channel, but that could very much be changing here in the future. I do plan on doing a video update on that when that happens, but for the most part, an almost direct way to support the channel until there are other ways to do it, like monetarily, if you will. These ways really help the growth and reach of the community. And that first thing is, of course, signing up for our email list. Now, earlier in the live stream, during the warm up, I had mentioned that if you want to join our Discord, I was going to show you how, and here's how. And upcoming at the end, most likely between today and Sunday afternoon, I do plan on doing another batch of email invites. The last invites didn't really get as much traction. They didn't get opened up, which tells me a lot of you who are active in your inboxes already have received the invite and you're just kind of ignoring it and browsing over. So if you do get it again, I do apologize, but this will likely be the last batch I send out to start in June because I do plan on launching channel memberships and it'll be behind a paid wall. Anthony, I know I have to send you the link, and anybody else, if you're here and I haven't sent you the link, do let me know. But starting in June, it will be behind a paywall as I plan to be 2x, 2 times more active in the Discord community, more than, say, Instagram and Twitter, which are the two primary social media platforms that I am on. I am personally not on Facebook anymore, but when we launch our YouTube group, and I do have a Facebook page over there for Inside the Lab, but when we launch our Facebook group, that is when I will come back to Facebook. But at the moment, it's just Twitter and Instagram indefinitely. So if you want to join our Discord, which I see as a platform similar to Facebook, but I understand we can't do things like share pictures, share videos, and that's why a Facebook group would be a little bit more appropriate in that regard. But for the moment, our Discord is a way to communicate and engage with myself and other members in the community. I love when I see organic conversations developing, even without myself included in it. I don't always reply, but I normally will scale the thread just to make sure that everybody's adhering to the guidelines. But right now, our active members that hang out in the Discord, shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you guys, and appreciate the energy. I do welcome more of you to join our Discord. And if you're in there, pop in, say hello. Just remember to give the community guidelines a look see over. I see Day One Adventures just popped in. That is my guy Damon. It's good to see you, Damon. How you doing on this? How you doing on this Saturday, David? We also got a link, brother, because I would like to hear what things opening up, and I'll be fully vaxxed here after next week. I'll be fully vaccinated after next week. I'm not sure if you are, but maybe that give us both confidence to maybe finally do that joint collaboration. I would love to go on an outdoor adventure, maybe share some. We can talk about all that information, but it's good to see you, D. It's good to see you as always. Um, but yeah, sign up for our email list. All I need is your email address so I know where to send that information to you. And of course, your first name. Not going to go too much into it beyond that because a lot of you have heard me mention this a lot, but unity does start with you. Plain put forward, without the unity, there is no community. There is no commonality amongst people. So join our list, join our community, join our Discord, and then of course, sorry that it's off here a little bit, but of course we have merch, which this is a surefire way of monetarily supporting the channel with stickers as low as $4.99, high-end shirts and hoodies, long sleeves, if you will, hardware like mugs, and I do plan on there will be another upcoming summer merch drop. So do head back and forth. If you head over there and you don't see anything you like, right? You can always maybe pick up a sticker, throw it on the wall, throw it on your table. I'd be honored if it would embrace your system. But check out the merch, awesome stuff over there. I'll have some favorite. I mean, I love this shirt here, the No Player in the Wild. Just awesome stuff there. It's simple. Of course, the USB. Check that out. And of course, our website, which features Core Shredder in an earlier form, but our website is where it all comes together. Find more information about myself. Contact me directly. Maybe give me some constructive criticism, some destructive criticism, or you could just say hello. You can check out the socials, which I need to add our Twitter and our Instagram here. The community blog, which I am still working behind the scenes of getting some featured guests on to share insightful blogs or insightful posts that I could also then say supplement with a video form of it. Get the history of the merch store, and of course see the complete videography as new videos are constantly being added to the mix. Goes that handsome fella right there. But you can check out the complete videography if, say, you missed a notification or maybe you're burdened by YouTube's home display. You can check out the complete videography there. Every video I've published on the channel or that's public on YouTube. And honestly, fam, I've only ever deleted one video that I've published, and I'm not sure if I've shared this story. I'm pretty sure I have, but I've only ever deleted one video that I've published on this channel, and that was the Madden 20 NFL Madden 2019 benchmark. Um, at the time, and now that I tell myself, I likely should have left it up, but I was indifferent about the video. It's not that it was performing poorly, it's just it wasn't performing as expected, given that there wasn't a lot of videos. There was a high search for it, and there weren't a lot of videos available at that resolution playing the game. So it still didn't pick up a lot of traction. And compared to some of the other benchmark videos I had published during that benchmarking period, right? It was just a series, it was just a benchmarking series, but they performed better than the Madden video. So I perhaps thought it was just a lack of interest in the game. So I deleted the benchmark. But hindsight is 2020. And now that I think about it, I should have just left it up. I shouldn't have deleted the video. That's the only video I've ever deleted, and to this day I regret deleting it. I should have just left it up. I have I'm closing in on 100 videos, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to say publish the next two videos I had lined up, or publish one of them and then make the 100th video a like a live stream, 100 video celebration live stream, because I don't plan on doing a lot of celebratory live streams after what with the look back in the year two or the yearly series. That aside, which is like an anniversary event, but when it comes to like videos and subscribers, personally, I'm on a 10,000 subscriber mission. Like that's when we will maybe do like that's the next subscriber milestone I want to hit is 10,000 subscribers. And then in terms of videos published, 100 was the first milestone I had as a mini creator, right, as a micro creator. Long before we broke even 1K, I told myself, no, don't just focus in on 100 videos. And I shared this during the year two anniversary live stream, which is still very much a good watch. I'll try to remember to link it in the cards here after the replay. But if not, you can find it in the most recent playlist video, the year two anniversary. But I mentioned this in that live stream, and I said that I wanted to reach 100 videos above a certain, even after a certain subscriber mark, like 100 subscribers for the custom URL. Sure, like if you are not familiar, to get a custom YouTube URL, you need at least 100 subscribers. So a lot of new channels, aspire to hit that 100 subscriber mark just so they can get that custom link. And it just looks so much better when you're sharing it with other people, when you're sharing your channel and linking them back to your channel. It just looks so much more clean and presentable. So with 100 subscribers aside to get the custom URL, really 100 videos was my target, with not necessarily focusing on quantity and not even really quality, but trying to find a balance of both of those things. So 100 video milestone is coming up. I believe we're like 2 videos away. After this, I stand corrected. After this, will be 1 video away. So um, we will likely, now that I think about it, we will do a 100 video, just short live celebratory live stream to celebrate 100 videos. It's If you've even created one video on this platform, you know what all goes into creating just that one. So being able to create 100 altogether, even with live streams, it may be a live video, but there's very much a lot of the content creation process incorporated into producing a live show, right? It's a little bit more intense, one would even almost argue. But nonetheless, it's 100 videos. So after this video, we'll be at 99, 10,000 subscribers, 100 videos, right? And then 100 views, 100,000 views. Like those are milestones that I said going into this when I started creating content in 2019. I said it would be awesome to have, to rack up 100,000 views, to have 100,000 people laid eyes on the content that you put your blood, sweat, and tears, and energy and effort, and you put yourself out there. Having 100,000 people witness that journey was something I wanted to aspire to, something I wanted to reach. And then of course publishing 100 videos from start to finish, right? From producing, from recording to planning, getting in front of the camera, very much like I am now here in a live style and live flavor, and then reaching a community of 10,000 subscribers, just 10,000 strong. Those were the milestones that I set as a creator. Now we are just hitting the 100 video milestone coming up here soon, so that's awesome. We got a little bit of ways to get to say 10,000 subscribers. We're a little slow in the subscriber growth, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine. Um, but in terms of views, we're also about 10, 15,000 away. So those milestones are a little down the road. So we'll likely will do a hundred episode or a hundred upload anniversary live stream, and maybe just talk about each video very quickly within an hour span. So, and just kind of share some of the behind the scenes context of what we did. We did that, I believe, in a previous celebration live stream. So, but a lot's changed. A lot's changed since that time. So, yeah, with that out the way, though, just good to know. Those are three milestones I set here as a creator, right? Videos published being the most important, then views being the second most important, and then of course building a community of at least 10,000 subscribers, and then from there it's obviously like 100K. But that's so far and few in between, like going to 10 to another 90,000 to hit that mark could, who knows how long it could take. But I'm in it for the long run, baby. Like I am here, and so long as there are people willing to watch, I am willing to be behind the scenes creating because I love creating. I love creating content. I love, most importantly, telling stories. Like I know, shout out to Cliff. Cliff is a writer. Cliff publishes, has a series that he's published, a series of short stories. Um, Maybe that's something you are interested in as well if you want to be a creator, Cliff, to maybe create content around self-publishing your own books and stories. Dale Roberts, I meant to tell you this in the Discord, XLRA Gaming or Cliff, I meant to tell you this in the Discord, but Dale Roberts is a YouTuber buddy of mine, YouTuber, a creator friend of mine that I really like. His whole channel centers around self-publishing your own books over on Amazon and using Kindle Direct Publishing or KDP, among other things, how to get your own ISBN. So shout out to Dale. I know Dale's not watching, right? But shout out to Dale. And if that's something you're interested in, or anybody here, if you're interested in self-publishing your own material, even if it's science fiction, right? Um, that's something. He's another channel you should look into. Great guy, Dale. But I also love reading and writing science fiction too. For those of you who didn't know, and most of you do because I've said this before, I wrote video games. So I very much do enjoy storytelling, and I knew that I could create content, and very much still tell a story within the mix and flow of that content. So here we are, and I look forward to the next 100 videos because after 100 published videos, my goal is to publish 500 videos. 500 videos. A lot of case studies on what it takes for channels to hit the amount of work, and by work I mean videos published, because your channel won't grow if you're not publishing videos, right? Like I'm not necessarily talking to my audience, the community, because not everybody in the community creates content. But if you're here on the replay and you create content, then your channel don't grow if you don't post. Or there could be some instances where you experience growth by not posting. But to really achieve those things like views and subscribers and videos published, you got to publish videos. You got to work. So, a lot of interesting case studies on how much work, remember that's videos published, it takes to get to that, say, 50,000 subscribers and 100,000 subscribers. And it takes a lot of videos. It doesn't happen overnight. The day one says Most Def was just down at National Harbor. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean that's something we will obviously communicate over in the DMs. But tell you what, let's jump right into the conversation. Again, if you're just now joining us, we are talking about 5 things I wish I knew or known before getting into PC gaming. With the first one being, this is a favorite conversation, a favorite topic we have here in this community. And that's number one, investing more money in your monitor. Now, I say your monitor, but let me switch it back here from the first person perspective. Um, my monitor, and that's investing more in my monitor. Now, remember, this is not content creation lab. This is, I am a PC gamer. and I consider myself an enthusiast because I like to build and I like to tweak, replace parts. I am comfortable in the process. So then I consider myself like a high-end enthusiast. But from this perspective, these were things I were looking at from a gamer's perspective. I had no interest in creating video content. Like I was very much creating, um, developing video games. So the hardware was more tailored for engines like Unity and things like that. But once I converted over to video form, I then said, man, I wish I thought about these things before I made the switch over to PC gaming. Like even my interests changed within this niche. I went from a creator to or consumer to consumer creator. So now I not only create the content about, PC hardware, I also like either a watching it, although I don't do it as much from a lot of the tech YouTubers. I like some of the things they say, but not always in agreements to everything they say. I think there's a specific group of people I would like to reach anyway, like really niche down and double down and focus in on a specific group of people. But of course, side note, we welcome all budgets and all systems are welcomed here. But really, your monitor should be the first component you decide, right? Or you decide on in conjunction with your CPU and your GPU. And of course, this is also factoring in the type of games you play. This is something we talk about quite often here in this community and during our live shows. And it's one of the reasons why I started with it because it always points back to your monitor. Again, your monitor is the window to your system soul. It powers your entertainment experience all the way down from your games to the videos you may break down and encode or the videos that you're editing in, say you edit in 4K. But this really should be your first component you decide on. Yes, in conjunction with your CPU and your GPU. Now, your style of play, that's the type of games you play, could come down to either them being competitive or casual, right? This could, you know, very much vary, or this could depend on, if you will, on you, the person, or the type of games you like to play. We have some members here in the community that likes to play single player games, or they like to play a little bit of both. Maybe you only like to play games that are based on services like Fallout 76 and World of Warcraft, um, just to name a few. But really, any MMO or MMORPG, a morph, if you will, that's what we called it back in my day. I hate to sound like a okay boomer, but that's what we called it back in my day. But you want to essentially decide on your monitor so that you are balanced, or you can configure your hardware to be balanced at all resolutions, or at least the resolution that you are targeting in. So for me, one thing I wish I invested more in was not only just investing money, like saying, oh well, this monitor costs 169. Man, I should probably spend $60 more, get a higher refresh rate, better response time, different panel type, maybe upgrade the panel type, go from TN to VA or VA to IPS, get a high-end IPS monitor. No, I'm talking about just researching and investing more in my monitor in general, and that's readily familiarizing yourself with really all three of those areas I just mentioned, right? The panel type, rather that's a twisted pneumatic panel type or TN panel, like an older format, an older panel type, or an IPS panel, which stands for in plane switching, or a vertically aligned panel, a VA panel, right? Which one is right for your needs? Because that could also depend on the type of games you want to play. I'm going to use Minecraft as a reoccurring example here throughout the live stream, and quite possibly Fortnite. Not only are they arguably two of the most popular games amongst the community in large, right? Like you may not play Fortnite, obviously. You may not play Minecraft, but there are a lot of potential prospects, if you will. Prospects being gamers who are ready to switch over from console over to PC, who do play those games, and those games are very much still popular now. Although recently I've omitted Fortnite from the benchmarks. Excuse me. but they could be coming back here, especially with the content coming up. But overall, it goes with not just investing money, but investing more time to research the monitor itself, understanding how your refresh rate works and how it's synonymous with the FPS output that your system may deliver, right? FreeSync, G-Sync, different monitor technologies, all of these things. Invest in your monitor. Um, the type of games you play, all of these things will play the biggest factors. Not only when deciding on your monitor, but it's also good to know you don't want to overspend on your monitor. Like you don't want to say get a 2560 by 1440p monitor that may run you $300 and you really just want to play Roblox or Minecraft at 1080p, right? Maybe the higher pixel count really doesn't matter a great deal to you. So that's why it's also important to invest in your monitor. That way you don't overspend, but you do want to spend enough. This is why it's important to let the type of games you play, also coupled with your hardware configuration, your GPU and CPU, the arguable two most important and critical parts in terms of delivering your FPS, right? Your budget, how much you have to spend, obviously plays a factor. And if you're here and you're watching on the replay, or if you're here live and you want more context about the different monitors or what all goes into your shopping routine for buying a monitor, I will refer you to the again our weekly live experience playlist where you can find that conversation. It's left up as is. You're more than welcome to jump into that live stream, and there's chapters there that can help you bounce through the conversation. That way you can maybe get a little bit more context about the type of monitor that may be right for you. Now, you have different resolutions to start out with, which vary, but for the most part, we're going to keep it simple to some of the most common. Yes, you can go all the way up to 8K, but 8K monitors are impractical in terms of both the hardware, right? The GPU hardware you need to run any of the games, and their price. Those two factors make 8K gaming way. I mean, 4K gaming really just got affordable, here in my honest opinion, especially with the most recent developments in semiconductor technology. But of course, you have 1920 by 1080p, right? This is the most commonly used, the most flexible resolution, especially for modern games. 1080p provides better detail and quality than your consoles. Again, I'm not shaming consoles, fam. Consoles have a purpose, but consoles typically have their games outputted at either 900p or 720p, depending on the game. If it's a game like Call of Duty, it's almost certainly running at 720p, especially if it's on older hardware console. But if it's on newer hardware console, games like, The Witcher 3 or Gears of War or, The Medium, Control, all of those games are running at 900p and then they're being upscaled to 1080p. So on a PC in terms of your monitor's resolution, 1920 by 1080p will give you natively better detail and quality, right, than what you would find on a console. And it's also easier to run on a wide range of hardware, even including CPUs with integrated graphics, right? Most importantly, modern CPUs with integrated graphics, like the Vega 8 and Vega 11 on the 2200G and a 3400G and the 5700G. Those integrated graphics are insane. Definitely could power 1080p, perhaps at a lower setting, but nonetheless, you would be at your native resolution. And in my honest opinion, regardless of your hardware configuration, here recently, I have recommended a few users to lower their resolution to say 1280 by 720p and just be in a HD format. If you are on an older integrated graphics CPU, say like Intel Graphics 4000 or 610 or 630, then drop your resolution down. But essentially, you want to play at your monitor's native resolution. So if that's 1080p, that's what you want your games to be scaled and rendered at 1080p. But you have what's arguably what's becoming more and more popular, and that's that quad HD resolution at 2560 by 1440p. I'm in between this resolution. I game and my content creation workflow, I do use multiple monitors, but my base monitor, my core monitor, is at a resolution of 3440 by 1440p, right? Now, that's different from, say, quad HD, because that's essentially ultra wide quad HD, and that's an ultra wide resolution. The aspect ratio is larger, it's 21 by 9 versus the standard 16 by 9. But, ultra wides aren't for everybody. But I do appreciate the extra real estate, and I love the resolution and the extra aspect ratio. But if you didn't want to go with ultra wide and you wanted a little bit more detail in your games, 2560 by 1440p has become more and more popular. Most importantly, given that how affordable 2560 by 1440p monitors have become. Now, at this resolution, you have a balance between, say, graphic details and FPS. Yes, you very much do need a capable and competent graphics card. Typically, you would want a graphics card with at least 6 gigabytes of GPU VRAM, right? That's typically required especially at a resolution higher than 1080p. Which with 1080p, I meant to mention that you can get away with a dedicated graphics card of at less than 3 gigabytes of VRAM. This is at 1080p, right? Now, 1440p though requires more VRAM versus the standard, say, 3 or 4 that you may find on graphics cards that are targeted for 1080p or even a lower resolution like 720p. And that's because higher textures, right? Higher textures, or once you up your graphic settings, the textures become more detailed. And so, regardless of the graphic settings, you need a graphics card with a VRAM buffer that could handle the extra detail added on the textures and models in your games. Now, then you have the highest, most practical. I say practical because it's really only become a popular choice. It's only really become an affordable option here as of late. But then you have 4K or 3840 by 2160, right? And at this resolution, it provides a higher level of graphic fidelity and pixel density in your games, right? Like more detail. This is good, especially for those of us who like to play single player games, right? But it is super demanding on your hardware, right? And that is 4K. Now, it's good to not settle or use, say, whoops, sorry about that. It's good to, not just settle on any kind of, monitor you have around the house or TV lying around your house. Maybe if it's an older TV, maybe it's an older panel type, maybe like it's like a plasma or something to that effect. But you want to put just as much thought in your resolution and your refresh rate that you would with some of your other core components, because it is important to the overall experience that you're trying to build with your system. Okay, your system drives your monitor, and it's not only the window to your PC soul, but it's what empowers your experience, your monitor. So one mistake, or one thing that I wish I would have known, is that I should have put more effort, 2 times the effort, into researching my monitor. This is something maybe you already done. You say, hey, lab, I already did that. Next slide. And cool, that's awesome, right? Like, but this is something that most new users don't stop and really take into consideration. They've already got the money saved up for their system. They didn't factor in a monitor for their build, right, for the overall cost of their system. Our starting price point was $1,400, which is still flexible. You can still achieve that for an overall setup, right? Monitor, keyboard, mouse, audio, internet system. About $1,400, you could achieve that with a budget of that amount. But it's good to factor in your monitor's budget with your system budget, and yes, configure your system in tandem with your monitor and the type of games you play, right? So that's one thing I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming. And again, do be sure to give this stream, give this stream a like if you haven't yet. Do be sure to give this stream a like, and if you're on the replay, do be sure to give this stream or video a like and comment down below with any questions you may have. But let's jump into number two. This one's this is what kind of pushes users away from getting into PC gaming, and that's issues will arise, right? Are you familiar with Murphy's Law? If anything that can go wrong will go wrong, right? Or what I like to call here most recently, ghost in your machine. Things that are just happening, anomalous actions that are occurring inside of your machine that you did not expect to happen or that you did not plan to happen. So, as a new PC enthusiast or a new PC user, rather you had somebody build your system for you or you built it yourself. Like if you built it yourself, your confidence can even be shaken once you start experiencing things like B sides and G sides, if you will. We're going to get into those things here in a second, but if you built your system, maybe it's shaking up your confidence that, man, maybe I didn't do something right, or maybe I dropped the motherboard down incorrectly, or I fastened the CPU cooler, I didn't fasten it down tight enough and my CPU's overheating, or I can't install Windows, or Windows isn't recognizing my drive, maybe I didn't connect the SATA appropriately. So many things to be going on in your mind. Just do know that as a new enthusiast, as a new PC owner, issues will arise, right? Murphy's Law says that if things can go wrong, then they will go wrong. And no matter how much planning and thought you put into your build, there could be unforeseen issues that occur within your hardware. Because remember, computers aren't perfect. They are binary machines. They are essentially, one-dimensional. They will work so long as they are able to work, and then they will stop working when they are unable to work. And there, you can receive faulty hardware. Like it's very possible. So one thing I would have, I guess, known or just knew to prepare for is that things will go wrong. Even if I have somebody build my system that has been doing it longer than myself, or I built it myself and I said, listen, I watched all of the Inside the Lab videos. I read up on my parts. I've researched my motherboard. I've researched the RAM, the necessary RAM I may need for that chipset, and that's compatible with this CPU. I got the right graphics card. This is how much watts I expect my system to output. You've done all of those things. There could very much still be issues that will arise. In fact, I'm here to tell you there will be issues that arise, especially if you're on like a modern platform like Ryzen, for example. When AMD first launched Ryzen, right? If you use Ryzen, um, and it's when it first came out and in its infancy, you can testify to this. There were a lot of wonky issues with Ryzen, from software not, sensors in the software not recognizing things like the clock speed and the temperature and power draw, and then, some BIOSes not recognizing the CPU or recognizing the RAM speed and frequency. So there were a lot of hiccups associated with Ryzen. So if you were an early adopter to the platform, you likely experienced some of those issues or some of these issues that you otherwise maybe didn't think you would have had to or have to. Again, this is even if you had somebody else already build your system. Some of those most common issues, right, are random. They can be random, but oftentimes there is a reason behind them. But one of those common issues are random blue and green screens. We're going to talk about really quickly what the difference between the two is. There's not really much, but there are instances of, say, green screens and blue screens, OS and system freezes, etc. They can and they should happen, right? It helps you get the kinks out of your system. You just want to be prepared for when they do. You just really want to be prepared for when they do happen. That's why I said it's more so Murphy's Law. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when will these issues arise, because you are working with highly complex hardware that has to communicate with each other. They may have all been manufactured in different dates, all by different manufacturers, and yet they still have to come together and communicate efficiently. There are going to be issues along the way there. Now, we talked about B sides and G sides. Now, essentially, a green screen, or the green screen of death, the green screen of death only appears when you are running an insider preview version of Windows 10. I am running an insider preview version of Windows 10 on my editing rig. I have gotten green screens before. Matter of fact, one of the live streams we did, one of the pop-up live streams we did, and I had the stream had cut off, I actually had gotten a green screen during that live show. Um, and sometimes it happens during my gaming sessions, but it really hasn't happened since I've updated the insider version I have of Windows. But this, when you have a G side or the green screen of death, this only happens when you're running an insider version of Windows 10. And if you see a green screen of death on your PC, again, that's a sign that maybe the system that you're using, maybe it's one that you built or you bought from somebody else, and you get this screen, you're like, oh, what is this? I didn't know I even had an insider version. Maybe you just didn't know. But with a B side, with a blue screen of death, you're more or most likely able to, or would get this message here. You would get your infamous B side, which stands for your blue screen of death. Now, some of the most common issues associated with blue screens or B sides, right? Blue screens of death, are from your RAM or memory deficiencies, right? Maybe it's a bad XMP profile overclock. Maybe there's not enough voltage being supplied to the RAM when it's under intensive load, say like a gaming or a workflow, like encoding and working in a timeline or working in a graphic manipulation software like Photoshop, which eats at a lot of RAM. So if you don't have enough RAM to say run that program, let's say you are a photographer and you edit photos at like 8K or you edit photos in 4K, that's going to bog your system down. So if you're having any issues with your RAM, you're likely going to get a B side. Another common issue that occurs with B sides, and that's in a hard drive or storage issue. Maybe your drive is faulty, or maybe it's malfunctioning. Maybe it's reached its end of its life cycle if it's a hard drive, or maybe it's reached the read and write speeds if it's an SSD. Often this will require you to replace your hard drive if it's faulty to this point to where you can't even boot to Windows. Then you need to replace your hard drive. Also, if you have a faulty CPU, this you could also experience a blue screen the moment you go to say execute a process. Another issue that you can get a B side from would be incompatible firmware, right? Or corrupt drivers, or even from malware. Now, of course, you could also suffer from all of these things, not just one. It could be you have, defective RAM. Maybe one of your DIMMs are malfunctioning on your motherboard, and it's not necessarily your RAM. RAM could be easy and tricky to troubleshoot at the same time because you could always take if it's a dual config, you could almost attribute the issue to your motherboard's DIMM. Um, so those are just some of the common issues or some of the most common reasons that you will experience B sides or blue screens of death. Now, a good starting point, if you're unsure, like if you're not sure where to start altogether, almost certainly Windows will, thank goodness, give you a stop code, as you can see here down here at the bottom. It'll get it, and that is at least a good start to put you on the right path of trying to troubleshoot or get to the source of the problem. In this instance, green screen, or I'm not sorry, green screen, Google is your best friend. I keep wanting to say green screen because when I was rehearsing for the show, I kept saying green screen when I wanted to say G side. I kept wanting to say green screen. But either way, both your green screen and your blue screen of death, your green screen of death and your blue screen of death, they both are there to avoid severe damage. Oh, I did it again. To avoid severe damage to your system. Yikes, I did it again. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. But it's good to familiarize yourself with the process so you are comfortable and efficient when handling these issues. For example, what we just mentioned with getting a blue screen of death by having faulty RAM. I had this experience with a build client I had set in XMP. It was a rather aggressive XMP, but the memory was rated for it, and they were experiencing random blue screens. And I said, well, it wasn't blue screening before. I changed the frequency, so that has to be the source of the problem. So I troubleshooted it and changed the XMP, and haven't had an issue ever since then. So it is often an issue with your memory, especially if it's preventing you from, loading a game or loading an application. And if your hard drive has already gone, like it could be one thing from failing, and you would notice that because your system would feel like really slow, really sluggish. Your boot times would take more than 10, 15, 20 seconds. Like you could tell if your hard drive is slowly failing, you would see the warning signs. But when it goes, that's it. It goes. Windows won't boot at all. You'd be stuck on the the blue screen, the blue window screen saying your system has failed to boot. Please troubleshoot things of that nature. And you need to replace your hard drive. But remember, you can download software and applications that can help you detect any issues before they damage any of your parts. Um, I wanted to add that into the segment, but maybe that's a whole separate live streaming conversation we'll save for another time. But there are several different software applications that you can download, like Hardware Monitor is one, Cam NZXT, I believe is the name of it, just to name two, MSI Afterburner even, to help you see how your system is performing under the hood in terms of temperatures and clock speeds, just to make sure it's running the way it should and there's nothing holding your system back, because a system that's being held back won't output the performance that you are expecting, and especially the performance you paid for. So that's it. That was one thing I would have known, right? And again, number two is that issues will happen. It's okay. They're meant to happen. I slowly had to just introduce myself to some of the ways to fix those problems before they occurred, or familiarize myself with those problems after they occurred, especially if I was helping a client troubleshoot their build. Now, what's the third, to jump right into the third thing I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming? And again, if you're here on the replay, do remember to drop your question down below at any time about any of these five things that we talk about, or a different part of the conversation. Do let us know in the comment section below. And if you're here watching on the replay, do let us know over in the live chat. As I see Thunder just popped in. It's good to see you, Thunder. Hello to you. We are jumping into the third thing I wish I'd known before getting into PC gaming, and that it's okay to spend what you can now and invest later, right? This actually coincides with the fourth thing I wish I'd known, which we're not going to fast forward and jump into that, because we're going to start with three. But do know that this kind of builds upon the fourth thing I wish I would have known, and it's more so a state of mind. It's more so dealing with the mental state of the process of getting into PC gaming. But the third thing I wish I'd have known very early on before I made the switch to PC gaming. If you're just now joining us, I see we had a few people just now joining us. Welcome to the live show. We are talking about five things I wish I known before getting into PC gaming. We talked about one and two. One was I wish that I invested more time and money into my monitor that's researching the resolution that I want to play at in tandem with the games that I play. Then number two was getting familiarized with the problems that will arise and that will occur with being a PC owner, or with owning a PC and being a PC gamer, right? That's dealing with blue screens, that's dealing with green screens, blue screens of death, right? Which B sides, which means blue screen of death, excuse me, or dealing with green screens, that's green G sides, that's green screens of death. I was messing up my words because I kept wanting to say green screen and like blue screen in terms of like video production, but nonetheless, we are here on the third thing I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming. And the idea or the concept of this conversation is that I say I because I am sharing in the experiences that I have had as an enthusiast and as a builder, but this very much could apply to you as someone on the fence. I've already made the leap. I've already ascended. I've already climbed the mountain to reach the pinnacle that is PC gaming, the best way to experience a video game. So maybe you haven't yet climbed. Maybe you're not convinced that you can do it. This conversation, this live stream is here to help you familiarize yourself with the process so that you can get comfortable with that climb, with ascending to the top. Now, the third thing I wish I'd have known is, again, it's okay to spend what you have now and invest later. It's no secret. This is kind of like beating the horse here. Graphics cards cost a lot of money. So even if you want a decent one, you're going to have to pay or upgrade in tandem based on your needs by saying maybe a 4 gigabyte graphics card, right? Say a 1050 Ti or an RX 570, um, R9 290 or 280X or something to that extent with about less than 4 gigabytes. An RX 560 that has 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Maybe you're in a graphics card of that caliber and you say, well, I only want to play lab. I only want to play 1080p, right? I don't really care about graphics, but I have a 1080p monitor. I do know I want 1080p, 120 hertz or 100 hertz or 144 hertz or, the standard minimum. Again, sorry if my mic's popping. But maybe, 1080p 60 hertz is right up your alley. That's all you need. You don't need a super expensive graphics card at the moment. You could say start with that lower end graphics card, somewhere in that class of RX 570 and lower, or even a previous generation, say like the RX 470 or an RX 480, if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole that is the used market, or even lower over on the Nvidia side, down to say a seventh generation's GTX 770 or a 760. Those graphics cards will suit your needs at 1080p. But let's say, you go from you start your interests start expanding and you want to play slightly more graphically demanding games, right? Or you want more FPS at a higher setting. Then you could invest, you would be in a category of investing in your CPU or investing in your GPU down the road. You don't have to say, well, I have to keep saving up. I have to keep saving up because this is the best graphics card on the market, but you may not need the best graphics card on the market. Again, what was the tip number one? That was, invest in time and money, research, if you will, into your monitor. So if you've done those things and you said, no, I know I want to play at 1080p 60 hertz, then you are in a graphics card category of RX 570 and below, right? You don't need an RTX 3060. You shouldn't be looking for a 3000 series graphics card if 1080p 60 hertz is your wheelhouse, or you want to play not as demanding graphically demanding games like Roblox, I always say it wrong, that game, or Minecraft, or even Fortnite, which I use Fortnite and Minecraft as examples because we're going to use them for the fifth thing I wish I'd known here in a second. But before we get to it, we're going to stay on tip number three, and that was spin now. And so, if you only play games like Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite and like Apex, games that aren't as graphically demanding, and like, hey, I really just want to play games that are based on a service. I'm not really into single player games. I don't really care about graphics. I more so care about playability in my games I play. Then you spend now what you can, and then invest later as your needs increase, or say as your games become more demanding, because games, especially games that are service, are routinely patched. As they have things like textures and under the hood optimizations that are incorporated into those patch builds. So very very true that your hardware could still be could be outpaced by the changes in the game you play. So this is why it's okay to spend now and then invest later. This is something I wish I would have told myself and not say, hey, don't go all out and buy a GTX 1080 at the time, because I really didn't need a GTX 1080 at the time. But really, technically, my first modern graphics card, was a 1050 Ti. So I quickly needed more from my 1050 Ti, and so I switched immediately up to a GTX 1080. But I had spent what I could then, and then I had just upgraded. It was relatively quick, but I had upgraded rather fast because I outgrown 1080p. Like I knew I wanted more. I'm like, wow, 1080p. I'm coming off fresh off a console. I'm like, 1080p is good and all. Let me switch back here and tell this. 1080p is good and all, but I was coming fresh off of gaming on a console, so I had got 1080. I was experiencing the glorious 1080 native 1080p resolution and games at like high medium settings, games like Wolfenstein and Tomb Raider, and I was just blown away. And I'm like, man, I want so much more in terms of detail in my graphics. I like to play at a balanced resolution of refresh rate or frame rate, and monitor resolution, or um, I'm sorry, your resolution, refresh rate, and the FPS output. I like to find a balance between those three things. That's why I game on a 100 hertz monitor, because I don't play, competitively. I do play games like Fortnite, but I'm mostly a single player, gamer. So I want detail in my games, and so this is why I opted for a higher resolution, like 3440 by 1440p. But it's important that you build with what you can buy right now. Very important. Build with what you can buy right now, especially when deciding on your CPU and your GPU. I mean, your motherboard too, especially when deciding on those three things. Settle early on a case, your tower, your chassis. Spend two times the research, right? Spend at least two times the research that you would with any other core component, and have at least three different options lined up, taking into consideration things like size, hardware compatibility, and also upgradability. Now, it's good to have at least three options, and that way you're not like marred down with having to choose one specific, like one specific case. You have three different options. We talked about cases last week's live show. Let me switch back here, man. I love talking about cases. We That live show went on for a while too. But I love talking about cases. You want to have at least three different options for cases, and even in that live stream, if you're on the hunt for maybe of you finally want to upgrade your case, or you're in that process of building your system and you're looking at cases, if you want some solid contextual information about what all that goes into that process, I highly recommend that you head over to that conversation. Not after this one, because we still got a lot more value packed information coming up. But at the conclusion of this live stream, or at some point, I highly recommend you jump to that conversation before buying your monitor if you are in the market for a monitor. Also, check out the links in the description of that video for the recommendations we made live on that live stream. So you can actually, get the reasons why we recommend those cases, and also learn more about them yourself down in the description box below. And that could be, maybe you're in that, like, we broke it down to three different price categories. I believe it was cases that were under $50 and less, cases that were about $70 to $100, and then cases that were about $100 to $200. So if you're in that price range, like if you're building a budget conscious, or a modest build, and you need to save a little bit of coin on your case, highly recommend you check out the segment. And there's time chapters on that live stream as well, but I highly recommend you check out the segment where we showcase and highlight a few cases, three exactly, that are $50 and below, that were available to buy right now, and of course the reasons why you should buy them. But if you have a little bit more money, there are other, we lay out two other categories with still three more examples that could act as, stepping points, or stepping stones to get you to the path you want to be on, to deciding on a monitor that fits your personality, that fits the rest of the hardware aesthetic to your build. Those are things we talked about in that live stream. So again, listen, if you want more information on what all goes into the buying process of getting a case, do check out that conversation. Zesty says, "Hi, bro. Long time no see." Yeah, Zesty, it's good to see you, fam. But where you been? I've been here every Saturday. I've been here every Saturday. Zesty, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, Zesty. And anybody else that just joined in, welcome to the live show. I see we had a few more likes jumped up. I do appreciate you all stopping in and giving the stream a like. And I understand everybody's busy on this beautiful, dreary Saturday, and you may not be able to stay, but I do appreciate you hitting the like button on your way in or out. It really helps put the video out in front of more viewers, so long as that I am continuously live. But for Zesty and anybody else who just joined us, I do want to welcome you to the live show. You kind of came in at an interesting point. We were on our third tip where we were discussing, five things I wish I knew. Sorry, five things I wish I knew before making the switch, converting over from consoles to PC gaming. And Zesty and anybody else that's watching, if you're here and you have some of your experiences, knowledge, expertise that you would like to share with the community, do feel free to leave it down in the chat, and I'll bring it up right here, and add commentary to it. And because the goal here is to help as many individuals as possible convert over from consoles to the PC platform. But Zesty, it's good to see you, bro. We here. And I tell you what, let's switch back right over to our tip number three, excuse me. And again, that's it's okay to spend now and then invest what you can later. Like add to your system. It's something I preach a lot here on this channel. It's something that I mention a lot here on this channel that, the beautiful thing about owning a custom PC or owning a PC in general is that you have the ability to upgrade your system. Hopefully it's at a pace that lines up with your finances, and it's say not a forced upgrade to where a component goes faulty and who, god forbid, it's especially a graphics card in this market right now. But you god forbid a component, one of your component goes bad, like is defective or just faulty altogether, where it prevents your system from functioning, right? That's different from say an investment. That's not necessarily an investment. That's a maintenance expense at that point. And when you invest in something, you want to get you're adding to get more out a little bit down the road. So in terms of your system, when you are investing in your system, you are slowly investing in your gameplay experience as a PC gamer. The idea is that even if it's marginal upgrades, say a power supply unit, that way are, you know, you are able to connect different more peripherals, if you will, or you can say upgrade your graphics card because you are able to have a power supply unit that has more pins, or you switch from say a semi-modular power supply to a fully modular power supply, and at that point it would be a hybrid of a aesthetic upgrade and maybe even a performance upgrade if you're smart about it, and you're not only switching to a fully modular power supply unit to say run things like custom cables, or to have to improve the overall look of your build, turning it into almost like a showcase like build, because at that point you're only using the cables, you're reducing clutter, and you're only using the cables that you absolutely positively have to use, eliminating altogether instead of wrapping zip ties up and tucking them underneath the case. um, you're able to remove any cords that you're not going to use, or use custom cables altogether, like with what you saw on, or what you see in the on the current form of Core Shredder, which if you haven't seen that Asus ROG Strix a high-end GPU story, fam, I highly recommend you binge watch that series. If you got a good maybe hour, watch all four videos. It's my first quad or tetralogy. I'm sorry, it's my first tetralogy, or first four video series that are all tightly connected. So definitely give those a watch. With the most recent one, the one where we talked about ray tracing, with there being a subtle teaser or clue at the end of that video to what's coming up next in terms of publishing a video. But when some of the newer viewers that came on, we were at the point of talking about, that researching your case and investing in your case, spending 2 times the amount of time researching what all will go into your case, making sure that your cooler is compatible, making sure you have the right motherboard form factor, making sure your graphics card has the right length, and that you have the right compatible power supply unit. All of those things. You want to research, 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 spend time into deciding on the type of case you want to use. Have at least 3 different options lined up. And that's when I was saying a lot of you had came on board right when we were talking about the live stream where we talked about cases. And again, after this live show, I highly recommend you hop over there and watch that one. But let's jump into tip number 4, with the fourth thing I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming, and that is avoid getting caught up with the ops. Right now, what are the ops? It's a newly branded lab term, right around with the tech demic and the forced upgrade mindset. These are vernaculars that I'm just developing on my own here. But you have your ops, right? Like your other people's systems. AKA, if you're a little older, you might have heard of keeping up with the Joneses. It's a term meaning that don't just buy things to just keep up with, say, your neighbor or with your peers, right? With what they're trying to get. So if your mate or your friend or your partner is able to drop 12, $1,300 on your system, and they're like, hey, I got, an RTX, I was able to pick up an RTX 2080, I got, 10900K, 32 gigabytes of RAM. How much, you ask me, oh man, that's awesome. Like, you know what all goes into that system and the kind of performance they can expect. And so you say, wow, so I think I need to spend $1,200, $1,300 on my system. Or what's really scary here is that you say spend less and you think that your system isn't as powerful as your friends because you didn't spend that amount. And at that point, you are getting caught up in the ops, right? Or the other people's systems. Don't worry about what someone else has and more on what it is you want out of your system. That is what I would recommend you focus on. This could put you in a mindset that what you can afford is inferior or not good enough. That's a very bad place to be in terms of mindset. It's just not very, it's not a very good state of mind to have when it comes to investing in something as expensive as a custom PC, rather it's a pre-built or building one yourself. They are very much expensive now, with some systems, costing what maybe a car for a first-time driver, maybe a young kid out of high school. I don't know. I have been in high school in a very long time. It's been like, yikes, hold on, y'all. 10, 14 years or something to that extent. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm an old head if you can't notice the grays in the beard. But again, it's not about the amount of money you have to put in your system that matters. It's what you decide to put in it that matters, okay? If you have a budget of $600, you build the best possible system within that $600. If say your friend has $1,400 to put into their system, then that doesn't necessarily mean that your system isn't good enough. It just means that their system is going to perform better. And a good rule of thumb we use here in this community that if it costs more, then it should be better. Matter of fact, my best advice to be would not even say, well, don't get bogged down with, well, my friend, his system costs 1,000 and mine only costs 500. Don't get caught up in the ops. It's not about, the amount of money you have. It's about what you put in it. Building the best possible system with the budget that you have. In this community, I'm here to help you. Crazy 1K is here to help you. No, I'm not sure, but Crazy 1K, is good to see you. I believe that's Bryce. I believe that's BC. I could be wrong, but I believe that is Bryce. It's good to see you. BC finally made a Saturday live stream. We are talking about 5 things I wish I would have known before getting a PC, switching over into PC gaming. Not necessarily with the build process. Like, I don't want to confuse our replay viewers and those of you who are here now. This is beyond just, oh, this is what you should know before getting into PC gaming. We did that conversation. I'm sorry, before building a PC. We covered that in a separate live stream, which again, I will invite you to the links down in the description box below at the conclusion of this live show. I do want you to hang around because we still have a few more tips to jump into here as we round out the conversation. But I would invite you down to the most recent playlist, our live stream playlist down in the description box below, that features all of our previous live shows, and they are left up in a podcast like format. Give that live stream a watch, jump into it at about the 10-15 minute mark, and just leave it on, taking all of that information, taking all of that value. So much more helpful content in those playlists that it's incredible. They are lengthy, and I totally understand it. Take it in, and take in the information in bite-sized chunks, if you will. But Crazy 1K and everybody else that's just joined us, thank you for tuning into our weekly live experience. I understand the live stream was a little earlier than what most people are used to, so I understand viewership may not be what we're typically used to here, but doesn't matter because the live shows are for our live viewers and also our replay viewers. This is very much a interactive experience either way. If you are watching on a live stream or in the replay, if you're watching this live stream on the replay, you made it this far, tell us down in the comment section below. But we are in tip number 4, and that's avoiding the ops, right? Don't get caught up in other people's system. It's also systems. It's also not good to brag, right? Like, again, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm just here to help you save time and money while, engaging in this hobby that is PC gaming. Now, what you shouldn't want to do is mis keep the narrative that my system is so much better than say a lower configured system because I paid more. don't have that narrative. If you built your system, if I built your system and say you drop 12, 1300, and you're gaming with somebody that might be on, less powerful hardware, right? Say maybe their system is a little potatoish, and I don't use that word often. Like, you guys and gals won't hear me use the term potato often. I just don't really use it often. But let's say, you have a friend that you game with, maybe they're on a potato, and it's good to just encourage them. This is the reverse of ops. This is kind of like the helps, if you will. And I can't come up with no cool acronym off the top of my head, but if you got ops and that's other people's systems, then you also could have the helps, and that's also building up users who hardware may not be as powerful or modern or new as yours. Still give them confidence in their hardware that it could deliver the experience that they are expecting, because at the end of the day, what matters the most is that you are gaming on this platform that is the best way to experience any of video games. I mean, video games are made on PCs for PCs. They're not made on consoles, fam. They're tested on consoles, sure, but they are made in engines like Unreal and wow, that's the only engine that comes to mind. That's because some developers use custom engines, but for the most part, when they're developers, they're working. Obviously, they're modeling and they're working on their textures. They're doing all of these things in their programming and their world building, building environments, building maps, scripting out boss battles and different and other scripted events. They are doing these things on a keyboard and mouse, not on a controller. So, PC gaming is the best way to experience a video game. And it doesn't matter what type of hardware the next person is on. It's good to not have the mindset that what you could afford is inferior or just not good enough compared to what the next person could afford, or getting caught up about what somebody else has in their system. This is almost a little bit of good life advice for our young viewers and even our older viewers. Let me switch back here. Let's see, we had Z Fluent roll in. It's good to see you, Z Fluent. Zion, another community regular. Excuse me while I take a sip. I do want to invite you to, if you haven't yet, do like the stream. And if you're new here and you're watching, you're lurking, man, I love our lurkers, but if you're new here and you're watching, do remember to give the stream a like and subscribe for upcoming future content, because we wrapped up the Aces Rock Strix tetralogy, the four-part series, and we're going to move in right into the next series with a few mini stories in between here of relevant content, of course, with a channel update video here coming up within possibly the next few days or within the next week. So a lot of interesting happenings coming up through the channel. But what I was mentioning was about being humble with what you have, rather that's you have a high-end vehicle or you don't even own a vehicle, rather you're a renter or a homeowner, rather you spent $2,000 on your computer or you spend $500 on your computer, is of good human nature to not look down on the next person based off of what they have. Let me keep it relevant to the conversation because our viewership is low for this week and I hate to lose anybody else, but in terms of, owning a PC, it's okay to have spent 1,000 on a machine or maybe 500. You spent and built with what you could afford to buy, and that's okay. So it's good human nature to, instead of breaking down that other person, build them up, encourage them that what you have is good enough. You don't need more than what you don't need, if that makes sense, right? It's all about staying within your needs and sticking to a modest budget or budget that worked or works for you in accomplishing the goal of getting on this platform. Now, again, avoid the ops. All right, this is a lab fam, terminology, and I forgot the term for it. Throw it in the Urban Dictionary, if you will, but avoid the ops, and that's other people's systems. Okay, again, it's not about how much money that matters, because it's all about what you have to put in the system, right? What you decide to put in it. That's all that matters. So this is the fourth thing, and it really didn't affect me more so because I'm not in the races to keep up with the Joneses. I stay in my lane and I ride the speed limit. Quote, ride the speed limit. But for the most part, I stay in my lane. I stay in my lane and stick to what I can afford and my personal budget and things of that nature. And I don't get caught up in the ops. But it has happened to a lot of new builders, and I will admit that though very early on when I was configuring a system that I wanted, I was saying, "Oh man, this person, look at their system. They have like tubes coming down from their CPU block. They have, their graphics card has lights on it, or I want lights on my graphics card. Or, oh wow, look at their case. Look at, and the more and more I saw that to have those things that I was admiring on other people's builds would cost more money. So I didn't necessarily get caught up in the ops, but it is easy to get caught up in the ops. And I'm here to tell you, avoid the ops. Okay, avoid the ops. Don't worry about what someone else has. It's more on what it is you want out of your system. Is that you want a capable Minecraft system? Sure. You don't need, equatable hardware to say a person like myself. Let's use myself for this example. That I want to play at 4K. So the hardware configuration will likely be vastly different between our two systems. So you shouldn't get caught up in the ops because you don't know. Maybe your needs are different from the next person. Maybe you want a game at 1080p, they want a game at 3440 by 1440p. That's me. That was me that made that switch. Like I have obviously I have a 4K monitor and I have a 3440 by 1440p monitor, but and a 1080p monitor of course. But I still come back to 3440 by 1440p. I don't need a super beefy graphics card in the configuration I do my core gaming on, and it provides just enough detail and like storytelling and immersion that it paints a well presented experience, right? The best way for me to put it, because each and every one of our experiences are different on our machines, even if we are using similar components, right? Let's say we're both using a 5800X or 3800X or 9900K or 2080 Ti or a 3090. We both could be using the same hardware configurations, but chances are that we play totally different games and possibly at different settings as well, right? A competitive player would favor, as many FPS as possible without screen tearing and things of that nature, while a single player enthusiast like myself would maybe take into consideration the significance of having higher graphic detail in their games, having a graphics card that could maintain a playable frame rate. Again, that could be very different from myself, yourself. If you saw the ray tracing video, I'm going to plug that. And again, I'm going to try to remember to throw it up in the cards here. But if not, you can find it down in the description box below. But in the ray tracing video, Cyberpunk was tested at ray tracing. It was not playable at all. Like even when I was editing, I was getting like motion sick just watching the frames being so choppy, and I almost took it out of the video and took it out of the benchmark mix. But then I told myself it's part of the overall arc of ray tracing in this, and that the concept is if you want to turn on ray tracing in a game that presents unplayable frame rates, then you want to take into consideration of enabling DLSS. We also did the video on DLSS. It's a reason why I did DLSS and ray tracing in separate videos and not all one together, but I did leave a call to action in that video by saying if you want to see DLSS performance coupled with ray tracing performance, to tell me down in the comment section below. The interest isn't as high for ray tracing and DLSS, so I guess it's not something the community wants to see. But maybe I will drop a community tab poll and I will re-ask that question again once to revisit that topic of should we test ray tracing and DLSS both on to see how much DLSS is able to compensate for the FPS hit that you get on turning ray tracing, even if it's say like on a modest ray tracing setting like medium, not the medium, but medium ray trace settings, it's very much still a burden on your FPS. So just something to take into consideration. But that's tip number 4 that I could, if I could go back and tell my past self, say, hey, listen, T or Lab, excuse me, don't get caught up with the ops. Okay, don't get caught up with the ops. Don't get caught up in other people's systems. You know, don't worry about what someone else has, or focus on what it is you want out of your system. Don't get stuck in the mindset of, what you can afford isn't enough, or is simply not better than what somebody else maybe was able to put $200-300 more toward their budget. And also keep in the back of your mind that it's not about the amount of money you have to spend that matters. It's about what you decide to put into your system that matters the most. Don't worry about because this person was able to drop $800 on your bill, on a PC bill, so you think you're in that mindset that you too need to build an $800 PC, when in fact your behind can only this is a family. I can't even say it right. This is a family friendly environment. But you know what I wanted to say. But stick to what your behind can afford. Don't say, oh well, I need to save up $300 more because, well, he or she spent $800 on their machine, and wow, look at that, they're getting this FPS and they're getting like 120 FPS in Warzone, and I want to get 120 FPS in Warzone too. I need to spend $800 as well. I understand it's common, especially now in the current GPU market where a lot of enthusiasts have to save up their money to get even a competent graphics card. Even if it's a newer graphics card, you may have to save up for a little longer because you have to save up more than what you had initially had planned on. So I understand it's a little bit more common now, but if you have to save up money to get a specific part or component you want, that's one thing. Excuse me, but saving up more money just to keep up with the Joneses, right? Or other people's systems is a whole totally different other thing that I totally recommend that you avoid. I see Sunny. It's good for you to have us. I think it's the first time we had the opportunity of engaging with you here on the live show. Welcome to the weekly live Q&A. Sunny says, my local computer store called me today, and they have an Asus ROG Strix 3090 overclock for $2275, including taxes. Should I get it or wait for the 3080 Ti? Mm. Well, Sunny is coming in with a very interesting um, comment that almost could be a video on itself. So, Sunny says, should I buy the RTX 3090 that's available for 2275, or hold out and wait for the RTX 3080 Ti, the rumored RTX 3080 Ti? Um, so here's the thing. It really depends on, again, the type of games you want to play and the resolution you want to play at. Now, we shouldn't expect the 3080 Ti to have more VRAM than the RTX 3090. 24 gigabytes of VRAM is a lot. It is a lot. And I'm not sure, Sunny, if you've seen those videos where I've benchmarked the RTX 3090, tested with ray tracing on and off, and also tested with DLSS on and off, and certain and multiple different setting configurations. Watch that series if you haven't yet to see the what all it goes into owning an RTX 3090. Games like Crisis and I want to say Crisis and Watch Dogs Legion, just off the top of my head. I know those games were using more than 16 gigabytes of VRAM at 4K max settings, because we did test those games at their highest possible settings. And at 4K max settings, Crisis was using almost 20 gigabytes of VRAM. Watch Dogs Legions was using a little bit more than 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So if you're interested in playing at a higher resolution, and you don't need 24 gigabytes of VRAM, that's one reason why you should wait for the possible 3080 Ti. A second reason why you may want to wait is that the 3080 Ti, we should almost certainly expect it to not cost more than an RTX 3090. So you could save some money by, say, getting the second fastest graphics card on the market, right, from NVIDIA in terms of raw computational GPU performance in the 3080 Ti. You could save money by not needing to overspend for a 3090. That's going to cost you about $2,300, to where if I had to position the 3080 Ti to give it like a price point, I haven't really talked about it, I would probably put it at about $100 more or less than what the 2080 Ti was, which some variants were costing up to $1,100 or $1,200. So I would expect the 3080 Ti to have at least 16 gigabytes of VRAM as well, GDDR6X VRAM, and slightly less CUDA cores, slightly under 10K. So if you want to play at say 4K or 1440p, you may not need a graphics card with as much VRAM. You don't need the RTX 3090. You can get away with, say, the 3080 Ti having most likely 16 gigabytes of VRAM or maybe 20. I think it'll be somewhere in between there, but obviously not more than the RTX 3090. NVIDIA wouldn't cannibalize their fastest, most, the graphics card that has the highest profit margin. So I would take into consideration the type of games you play. Are they graphically demanding? Couple that with your resolution you play at. Is it higher than 1080p? I imagine so. If you're looking at in the market for a 3080 Ti, a higher end graphics card like that. Um, but then the unknown factor is the price. How much will the 3080 Ti cost? I would put it at about $1,300 to $1,400. So within itself, that right there is a win. Your only downside is that Sunny, you have to play the waiting game. You have to wait for that graphics card to be announced, revealed, but most importantly, put on the shelf. And that is another unknown variable that we don't quite know exactly how it's going to pan out. So you could be shooting yourself in the foot by passing that 3090 that's available now by waiting for the 3080 Ti, and then the 3080 Ti comes along and it's not available. You have to wait, say, 3 or 4 months, or get put on a notification list when more become available, and then you find yourself having to wait a little bit longer. So the one downside to that is that you're playing the waiting game, and you could have missed out on the opportunity of owning an RTX 3090, which you're paying more for it. So it should be faster than 3080 Ti because it's going to cost. In my opinion, my best guess would probably be about $400 to $600 more. Sunny says, I play GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077 only. Okay. I have no monitor right now as I have given my 1440p monitor to my brother. I have to buy a new monitor too. 4K monitors are expensive. So are you looking to stay at the quad HD resolution of 2560 by 1440p? Or are you saying 4K monitors are too expensive? I want to wait for 4K monitor prices to come down. Or are you just going to look for like, yeah, 4K monitors are expensive, but in my opinion, that's because anything past 60 hertz is going to cost you an insane amount of money. But 4K 60, in my opinion, is a very healthy standard, baseline standard to be at. But GTA 5 is a CPU heavy base game. But even at that resolution, it still will draw some work from your graphics card. And Cyberpunk 2077 altogether is this a mixed bag of unoptimized settings and just poor optimizations made underneath the hood. So it's going to essentially struggle at higher resolutions. But um, with that in mind, I would, if you're okay with waiting and you want to take the gamble of, say, not going with the RTX 3090, wait for the RTX 3080 Ti if you can get on an early list or a pre-order list or something to that extent, to where you don't have to wait a long time for an RTX 3080 Ti, because you are going to save yourself hundreds of dollars by going in that avenue because you're not overspending. GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077, playing those games only. I mean, definitely a 3080 Ti at 2560 by 1440p. Theoretically, just looking at the numbers in between an RTX 3080 and an RTX 3090, because we don't have any raw performance data on the RTX 3080 Ti. So just looking at what you get in between a 3080 and a 3090, that graphics card will be able to handle GTA 5, especially at quad resolution of 2560 by 1440p. Cyberpunk 2077, in my opinion, regardless of what you're using it on, if you're gaming at 1440p and higher, I'd recommend at least like an RTX 3070 and higher, or an obvious 6700 XT as an AMD alternative. Sunny says, my brother is offering me his Xbox Series X console. I don't know how GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077 will perform on the console. I have never used a console. Well, the Xbox Series X, they're capable consoles. For once, Microsoft and Sony has finally given the market capable consoles. Now, It really just depends on the optimized state of those games on the Xbox Series X and X. I really couldn't tell you, Sunny, as we don't talk much about consoles here outside of them having a purpose like they do here in your scenario, in your situation. But with PCs just having so much more character, and that's again, you have the ability to tweak the settings in both of those games to hit a mark or to target a refresh rate, or I'm sorry, to target an FPS output that plays well with your monitor's refresh rate, rather that be 2560 by 1440p 144 hertz, or 2560 by 1440p 75 hertz, somewhere along the lines. But I mean, that's interesting. You're making the switch from you're going from PC to console. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's an interesting switch. But yeah, we more so talk PCs here, not so much console performance. They're pretty binary. They all have the same hardware, so they all will perform the same. And aside from switching in the modes, besides switching in your modes, say from like 1080p, 100, I believe it's 120 hertz, or like 1440p 60 hertz, there's not much you can tweak in terms of settings to find the balance of having the game look a certain way or look the way, because graphics are subjective, right, fam? Like graphics, what may look like a game that has a lot of detail and good graphics to me may not be the same with you. So graphics in a game could very much be subjective. Sonny says, I just discovered your channel. Awesome. And I am subscribed, and I will ask my friends to subscribe too. You are very kind to answer my question. Yeah, definitely, Sunny. Invite your friends and fam who may find this content helpful. I do appreciate you being a subscriber here on the channel. Also, do be sure to give the stream a like, right? Let's get that call to action going, fam. As we have more people join us, do give the stream a like. It'd be awesome to get to 10 likes. And if you haven't yet, of course, subscribe, which Sunny says, I am subscribed, and that Sonny says, I only care to play GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077 smoothly. My current laptop gives me, ouch. Yeah, that's not very playable in a game like GTA 5, 2025 FPS. That's almost console-esque even for that game, as most console games are locked at a resolution of, or I'm sorry, at a refresh rate or FPS output of about 20 to 30 FPS. Almost all console games, especially OG console games, they are like at about 20. They're locked at 30, at least 30 and below. And then even then, depending on the console, the base console, like if it's an OG PS4, you're likely not even getting that. It's $3,200 on a laptop in 2015. What laptop is it, Sunny? Again, uh, with laptops, it can be tricky because, yeah, you can't upgrade your laptop. You can't make upgrades outside of maybe the storage and the RAM capacity. But Sunny, to give you a better playable experience on your laptop, which at $3,200 in 2015, I imagine should have came with a dedicated video card, maybe like a 960M or 950M, 770M, something to that extent. Even in 2015, what I would recommend you do is change your native resolution. I have recommended this to a community member last week and a viewer here, Zfluent. Try lowering your native resolution to something other than what it is now. If it's 1080, even if that is 1440p, which not sure if that's what your native monitor resolution is, which I'd imagine probably because $3,200, most of that is probably in your panel. So it's probably a high refresh rate panel, higher resolution panel. But try lowering your native resolution. Try change lowering it. Something a little easier to run. Say 1920 by 1080p, and then up in the graphics. Mad, excuse me, Mad Meech. It's good to see you, Mad Meech. What's up, bro? Mad Meech said the Series X is legit. We are enjoying ours. It should be fine with Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, no reason why. I mean, the game overall isn't well optimized, and regardless if it's on console or on PC, uh, PC you have the ability to kind of tweak some things to make it run, make it playable. But I am disappointed with CDPR with their launch by holding back the console performance of the game to reviewers. I didn't think that was okay. I thought that was bad practice, man. It's like you have something to hide. What else do you have to hide? We should have known. CDPR was willing to hide that much about the game. We should have known that there were several other issues that have just been they've been remiss to admit that exists. And so once the game launched and it became widely available to gamers and console players, then the cat was out of the bag. At that point, we saw a super choppy frame rate, the game running at 10, 15 frames per second on the PS4. It was a bloody mess on high-end hardware at the time. I saw reviewers just describing the performance on like RTX 3080s and 3090s at the time, and it was abysmal. It's just one of those games, but I think the game, in terms of aesthetic and looks really, it looks good. It just doesn't play very good. It's almost like a tech demo. I attribute it to Cyberpunk 2077 being a tech demo. I have played it. I've played it to the end. I'm very very end before you storm the Arasaka building. But beside that, it's not much more there. It's a game missing a lot of things that even I myself didn't get caught up in the hype train, but was looking forward to playing and experiencing. But they have implemented CDPR, being they have implemented features like ray tracing really well. DLSS works okay. You kind of can notice a hazy Vaseline like wash over your screen. But for the most part, no, they've really incorporated other avenues of the game that I really like that pulled me back to it each time I wanted to sit down and get a gaming session. But and then our mod says, "Yep, thank you for your support and subscription. Absolutely, every single one of you guys and gals. I appreciate y'all." Earlier in the live stream, man, I talked about being on a journey to 10,000 subscribers. We need some 7,000, some plus more to go. But slow and steady wins. 7,600 to be exact. But no, 7,650 something to be exact. But whatever. We got a little ways to go, and slow and steady wins the race, right? Slow and steady wins the race. Sunny says yes, it has 965M. Okay, so I was right. I was cool. I was right around the right ballpark. So absolutely, on a 965M, what I'd recommend is possibly 1080p low settings or 720p high settings. Start there, and you will 2x improve your FPS. So if you're getting about 20, 25, if you're playing at 1080p now, part of my ignorance, if you're already playing at 1080p, getting those numbers, definitely drop down to 720p, medium and high settings. GTA 5 will look good at either setting. You may notice a difference in Cyberpunk, but GTA 5 will look good at either one of those settings. So, okay, I'm sorry. I see. Somebody says it has a 4K screen. I use a 1080p LED panel, 60 hertz to play. I mean, attach a monitor to my laptop. Yeah, so running your HDMI from your laptop to your TV, um, or to your panel. Drop your resolution down to 720p. Your native resolution to 720p, because GTA 5 is a CPU dependent game. That would certainly put some of the load on your CPU and less on your dedicated mobile graphics card. But I'm not sure what CPU in 2015. I'm gonna say maybe 47 or i5 4770H or U. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But do let me know the CPU. But changing your resolution like that may put more load on your CPU. So, to balance it, that's why I say try 720p, 720p low settings or 720p medium settings. Try that, and you would definitely see a significant boost in your FPS. You likely would be somewhere at like the high 50s and closer to 60. Okay, i7 47. Okay, so I was right about the generation, but not the type. 4720 HQ, and it is an i7. So since it's an i7, yeah, you definitely want to run it at 720p. The i7 should be able to keep up with that native resolution. And again, that's changing it at a Windows level settings, not just the game settings. Changing it at a Windows level settings. so that the game will automatically default and update to that settings or that resolution. I know GTA 5 gets a little weird with changing the resolutions, but yeah, Sonny, drop it down to 720p in that hardware configuration, and you'll get a much more playable experience. Are you interested in, say, building a PC, getting switching over to a dedicated desktop, right? Here in 2021, is that something you're interested in, and you're just holding out for GPU prices to get better, or are you committed to mobile gaming, saying on your laptop? Do let us know. But I hope that was helpful. I hope I was able to help you answer your question, which was a great question nonetheless. And I do welcome you. For those of you just joined, if you have any questions about anything related to PC gaming, feel free to ask, even if it's not related to this topic. And if you're watching on the replay, you especially, um, leave your comments down in the comment section below or over in the live chat. And Sonny says, would you wait for 4,000 series? This current 3,000 series is already a year old. I mean, a year old doesn't necessarily mean obsolete. And I wouldn't, because simply the fact that 4,000 series graphics cards are likely going to cost more. So if I could only afford $500 for a graphics card now, I wouldn't wait for the 4,000 series. I would just buy with what I can now, because the any 4,000 series graphics card is going to cost more. So what I have may not be enough. And if I'm going to just say, well, instead of five, well, I'll just spend $800, and then in that case, I would just shop for an $800 graphics card right now. And plus, we don't know what the performance leap is going to be from, excuse me, RTX 3000 to 4000. Nvidia thinks they're slick here with these marketing buzzwords like, or buzz terms like DLSS and ray tracing, because really that's going to be the performance metrics that Nvidia could vastly scale and justify increasing their prices, and that's giving us more RT cores, giving us more tensor cores for improved DLSS performance and improved ray tracing performance. Rasterization will only improve so much in terms of how many frames can the graphics card render, but there's other areas that Nvidia is going to start to market that shows disparity between the previous generation to justify the marked up price, say in RTX 4000 series. So as a consumer, I mean, as a content creator, I'd want one either way, right? As a content creator, but as a consumer, no. If I had $500 to spend, I wouldn't wait for RTX 4000 series. We don't know how it's going to perform. We don't know what the pricing categories. I mean, fam, we don't even know what series Nvidia may launch first, as they typically here recently have been launching them in an untraditional format, to where we've gotten like all of the your high ends at one point, to where then they only introduced, I believe, the RTX 2080. It's weird. Like, we may not get the 4060 at launch or announcement, or we may not get the 4050 Ti. Likely we would get your 7080. Don't know if they're going to keep up with the 90 variant, since it seems like they sunsetted their Titan RTX lineup, or their Titan lineup altogether. So I feel like the RTX 3090 has replaced that. So we're not really sure what the pricing and performance is going to look like on it. So no, I would stick to what I know I can confirm now, and that's RTX 3000 series scalped and inflated prices and performance. Sonny says, your comments on RX 6900 XT is it not as expensive as RTX 3090? I have heard it gives similar performance to RTX 3090. It's similar, and that depends on the game. Some games are optimized for AMD hardware for their Radeon graphics cards, and some are optimized for NVIDIA's graphics cards. So it really could depend on the game. The problem with the difference between RTX 3090 and a 6900 XT, aside from performance, is that the 6900 XT tops out 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and the 3090 tops out at 24 gigabytes of VRAM. The 6900 XT has an MSRP of $1,000, or about $1,100, $1,200 if you're looking at an add-in board partner variant, versus the $2,000 plus cost that's going to come associated with the RTX 3090. So you yourself as a user have to say, is the extra, you know, 7 gigabytes of VRAM worth it? 8 gigabytes of VRAM worth it? Do I really need it in the games I play? So um, the RX 6900 XT is and was a solid, viable option at its price point, but it's came and essentially it's gone. The launch is here, and you can't find it for $1,000. So the problem is, if you find a 6900 XT, chances are you have to pay RTX 3090 prices for it. So it's a tricky, it's a tricky argument, given the scope of the market. If you could find a 6900 XT at MSRP and an RTX 3090 at MSRP, more than likely the 6900 XT is going to give you more value for your money. It's going to give you the more bang. It's going to give you better bang for your buck, as that 24 gigabyte VRAM buffer is seem to be targeted at more than or towards users who are more than just gamers. But if you're looking for like a dedicated a very high end graphics card, like over $1,000, and the 6900 XT was available at that price point, I would lean toward that direction, especially if I was gaming at any resolution that's not above 4K. Right? We talked about how impractical 8K is because 8K monitors are crazy expensive versus a 4K monitor, which prices are coming down if you're looking at like 4K 60, say versus a 1440p monitor, which a premium high-end 2560 by 1440p IPS monitor can be had for a little under $300, in some cases under $200. So it really could boil down to you as a gamer, the type of games and resolution you want to play. 2560 by 1440p, yeah, you're in a flexible, category. You would want your graphics card to at least have more than 8 gigabytes of VRAM so that you could take advantage of, higher graphic settings. But I mean, I could be biased too, Sunny. I mean, I have the RTX 3090. I'm in love with the graphics card. I actually had the opportunity at a 6900 XT, friends and fam, and I didn't pull the trigger, and I couldn't sleep that night thereafter. It was unexpected. It was like I'm like, whoa, it's available for checkout. Like it's available for checkout, but it was still very much at an inflated price, so it still hurt. But all right, which that kind of ties really well into our fourth tip here, which was avoiding the ops or other people's systems. And just to refresh, I had mentioned that, settle on what it's not about what you have or what other people have. It's about what you have, how much money you have to spend, and what you decide to put into your system, right? Sonny says, do AMD GPUs last as long as NVIDIA GPUs? I mean, that's a hard determination to make because it could boil down to the GPU fabrication, the silicone, its usage. A GPU will last as long as it's well maintained and taken care of. Um, it also could boil down onto the manufacturer, like the add-in board, if it's your cooler or something to that extent. It could boil down to the manufacturer's ability to manufacture a card that's going to last a long time. But if you take care of all things, especially like a vehicle, any machine, it will last a long time. But all hardware, especially computers, electronics, they all have life expectancies. They all have a certain shelf life that even the manufacturer knows that it will last that long. Sonny says, my local store told me to buy RTX 3090 today only. Otherwise, they are going to sell it to someone else in the list. And so that's what I said. You have to decide on what's important to you, Sonny, which I realize I don't know what you would plan on pairing with the RTX 3090. I mean, that plays a vital role too. But it's one of the downsides to wait and say for the RTX 3080 Ti is that you could possibly miss out on an RTX 3090. So, yeah. But what else? What are the rest of the specs of your system that you plan on putting with that RTX 3090? Do let us know. But jumping to our fifth and final tip, right? That is checking the game settings or checking the settings in your games before buying them. Like that's so important. I stress that before buying them. Some people think, well, I have my system. Let me see if I can play this game. No, look at the games that you have even the slightest interest in playing before you are buying the games, and before building your system. Again, it's one thing I wish I had done more of, and that's look more into the games that I wanted to play at that resolution at the time. I was experiencing 4K for the first time, like native 4K gaming. Ironically, I was playing GTA 5, but at the time I was experiencing or playing at 4K. So every game I researched, I just saw what the minimum requirements or recommended specs was for to play that game at 4K. And once I saw the requirements, I'm like, man, I really wish I would have looked into this before I bought the game and possibly even before I built my system, as I would have tailored my system and configuration more around this game or these games I want to play. But settings are a PC gamer's friend and I guess foe, because it can be a little intimidating. It's time consuming to jump in and tweak the settings. I actually enjoy that process of like, jumping in and optimizing the game. Although normally jumping into it, I like to try and run the game at its highest possible fidelity, because I enjoy games like single player games, like Alien Isolation, which again, if you haven't chatted and you're watching, please subscribe, because we are doing our pop-up live stream series where I am trying to get through my playthrough of Alien Isolation while also popping up to say hello to the community and just see who's able to be available for that time. I don't care if it's even one person who's come to watch me play some Alien Isolation. I consider myself entertaining because I'm not that good at playing games, but I still very much enjoy playing them. Sunny Sunny says, okay, the 5950X, the 8 core, no, 16 core, 32 thread Zen 3 Behemoth beast of a CPU, a G scale 3600 megahertz 32. So it's a well-rounded base system, very high end. Um, what do you plan on doing with the CPU with all of those cores, Sunny Sunny? It's 16 to be exact. That is a lot. Gaming only typically requires no more than six. Even a game like GTA 5 just scales with more cores. But that's a very well-rounded system you have there. And I see you say you have to buy all the parts. That's part of the fun. That's the fun part of the journey. And Sunny Sunny, again, if you have a chat, I one recommend you to sign up for our community Discord, or yeah, sign up for our email list so that you can get the invite for our community Discord, so that you can ask myself directly, right, in a real-time manner, or other members in the community, if you have any questions similar to this along that journey, along your journey of buying your parts. We would love to help you along your journey of making that, ascending to building building a desktop. It's making a conversion from switching to playing on a laptop to a dedicated desktop with, you know, not using cut down parts. It's not cheaping out. No, 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 Sonny. I see says, oh, I could cheap out and get a 10900K. That's not cheaping out. That's not cheaping out. In fact, you would likely probably get a more well-rounded gaming experience by using a 10900K versus a 16-core 32-thread 5950X, as the 10900K has 10 cores and 20 threads, slightly stronger IPC, um, as I believe Zen 3 might be 5 to 6% faster than 10th generation Intel, but slightly stronger, faster IPC, but higher boost clocks on the single core. But also, you're saving a great deal amount of money, because the 5950X is an expensive CPU versus the 10900K, which I could be wrong, but you could be. I was going to check, but it's so off topic. But the 10900K can be picked up for most likely a third of what the 5950X would cost you. You may not have as a wide, a ranger upgrade path, but say going from a 5950X, what else could you go to? A 7950X, and by the time that's released, you most likely won't need to upgrade your CPU. You would just be upgrading because you're stuck in a fixed upgrade mindset. The fixed upgrade mindset is something we routinely talk about here on the channel, which I just see we had a few more people join in. I just want to welcome you to the live experience, our weekly Inside the Lab Q&A experience. We were discussing 5 things that I wish I would have known before getting into PC gaming, and 5 things that you should know before you make the switch into PC gaming. If you are on the fence, right? I used an analogy earlier in this live show where I said if you are on the fence, right? Like if you ever had to run from a dog or the law and you had to jump or scale a fence, you had that split second of making that decision of hurtling over and getting to the goal, which is the other side. So if you're looking to switch to PC gaming, that is the goal, right? That is what's on the other side. So you could be on the fence and you're not quite, you need that little push to help you get over the edge. That is what this community is all about. And that is what this live stream topic is all about. So if you're just now popping in, I first want to invite you to give the stream a like to help get it out in front of more people. And speaking of more people, if you haven't yet to subscribe, join our community by tapping the round subscribe icon button down there below. Tap the notification bell as well to receive all future content drops and content updates. We got a lot of helpful series, entertaining series that are going to drop that, fam, I personally am a fan here of entertaining and valuable written content. I think as a viewer, that's what's important to me. When I go to when I watch a YouTuber, most of the time it's a YouTuber that's sharing expertise in like a certain aspect or field of creating content or managing a business, right? Things of those natures. But I almost certainly love a YouTuber or educator that is both entertaining but still very much delivering valuable based information. I really like and respect um, both of those things in the content I consume here on the channel. So again, subscribe if you haven't yet. Give the stream a like. Let's get it out in front of as many people as possible as we were getting ready to jump into the fifth and final thing I wish I'd known before making the switch to PC gaming. Sunny says, other thing I do apart from gaming is doing software programming. Okay. So I mean, yeah. So but even then, 10 cores, 20 thread would still, do justice for your workflow versus the 16 core, 32 thread, 5950X. Typically, we've preached AMD here on this channel a great deal, but the 5950X is very much a CPU in a league of its own, with the 10900K being a pretty balanced CPU between a gaming chip and also a chip that's going to help you achieve your productivity workflows. And now Sunny and anybody else who just joined, if you're interested and signed up for the getting the invite link to the Discord, you can either be sure to hang around towards the end for our housekeeping segment. I'm going to show you how. But in a nutshell, don't do it now because we got to jump into tip number 5, and I don't want you to leave just yet. But you're going to want to sign up for our email list. I typically can see the new email subscribers, so I think what I'm going to do, as opposed to sending that email link out to everybody, I'm going to only send it out to users who I know didn't get their first 2 invites to the Discord, because starting in like the middle of June, the Discord invitations will go behind a paywall, and you will most likely need to sign up for a channel membership tier to get access um, to the Discord. Now we're going to evolve the Discord, because once channel memberships launch, like, we're going to do so much more in Discord, like voice chat and app Zoom panel live streams, where you could, like, after party live streams where you can jump on a panel with other members of the community, excuse me, and myself, and we have a super formal conversation that's not public and just exclusive to the community. So going to be good times. If those things that you're interested in, do be sure to sign up for the email list, because all of that information will be slow dripped to the subscribers over there. But as we have more people join into the conversation, we were talking about 5 things that I wish I'd have known before getting into PC gaming. I will quickly rehash 1 through 5, but while we are on the 5th tip, that was checking the settings in your games before buying them. Now, that also plays on the idea of checking in your settings before you even buy your system, right? Before you even start building out and configuring your system. I mean, this is something I wish I did before even having the thought of switching over to PC. Okay? Again, doing this here, checking the settings while I'm also researching the type of monitor that I wanted to play on. So this is why I recommend that you as well do the same thing, to research the games you want to play while you're also researching your monitor. Look at the game settings. How demanding is it? Which settings um, have an impact on my CPU, which settings are going to have a greater impact on my GPU. This is going to give you a better idea on how to configure and base your system. Do you want to put more of your budget into, say, the fastest possible CPU you can, on your motherboard's chipset, or do you want to put most of your budget into getting a faster graphics card with a higher VRAM buffer because you're interested at playing at a higher resolution? Now, the good thing with that is when you are playing at a higher resolution, you are putting most of the burden on your graphics card. It's not all, but it is most of the burden on your graphics card. So this is why if you're looking at playing at a higher resolution like 4K or 2560 by 1440p max settings, then yeah, you certainly want to put most of your stock in a graphics card because that is what's going to make make the bigger determination of the performance expectations that you're going to want to have at that resolution, right? Like you're going to expect your game to look good, so you're going to want to be able to play it at a higher graphic settings. You're already gaming at a higher resolution. You're also going to take into consideration that hey, maybe you want to play that game at ultra settings or maybe high settings. If it's a game like Skyrim, which Skyrim, I was able to play that on a GTX 1080 at 4K max settings because the game is locked at 60 hertz or 60 FPS. So like the game is locked at 60 FPS regardless of your monitor's refresh rate. So that essentially got the job done. I mean, some places, yeah, it might have dropped down to like the 40s and 45s once the dragons and everything showed up, or I was in areas of the map that had a lot of textures and things going on in PCs or what have you. But gaming at a higher resolution, you're able to put most of your stock in a beefier graphics card. So this is why it's important to look at your game settings and couple that with your monitor you want to play on. And game settings aren't, we talked about this, another conversation that's well worth diving into after this one. If you want more inside the lab, I appreciate the watch time because watch time is the real currency for creators. Don't let them fool you. Watch time is what's important to all creators. Million subscribers, 500 subscribers, 100K subscribers, 5 subscribers, 20 subscribers, bruh. Watch time is the most important metric for all creators. So, if you want more lab, definitely watch that conversation. Jump down to that conversation because we talked about, game settings being how they're not the definitive guide to configuring your hardware, but they are a good stepping stone. They are a good start to finding that balance between, having detailed graphics and playable frame rates. But again, they are a good start. They're a start when it comes to configuring the system that's going to meet your needs or expectations. For example, let's look at, you have Minecraft. Taking a look here at Minecraft's system requirements, we have the minimum and the recommended. Now, during that live stream, we actually used Cyberpunk. We used CDPR's Cyberpunk because, well, in my opinion, CDPR wasn't being 100% honest with the minimum recommended specs for their game, nor did they really tell us what resolution and graphic settings that was for the for their recommended specs. So this is why I say it's not a definitive guide, but it is a good stepping stone. Now I use Minecraft because I wanted to start with a game that's essentially both popular and also not too graphically demanding, or you don't need a super beefy system to run. And so this goes back to keeping up with the ops, other people's keeping up with other people's system. If you wanted to play Minecraft, if you just wanted to play Minecraft, say at 1080p, 60 hertz, and you wanted to play Minecraft, and you say, well, I am only interested in playing Minecraft, like Sunny said, I'm only interested in playing, Cyberpunk 2077 and GTA 5, so I want a system that's going to play those games at a resolution of 2560 by 1440p with the graphics turned up, which GTA 5 looks amazing at 4K, and it looks good at 30 ultra wide too. I mean, that game just, the graphs, it's an older game. You don't quote me on it. What, like, how old is GTA 5? Somebody correct me in the chat or on the replay, but what is it, like 10 years old, 12 years old? The game is old, but at higher resolutions, it still looks good. Like, it still looks like it's a modern game, although the game has been on what, 3 different consoles now at this point? So, kudos to, Rocksteady, whatever, Rockstar, for achieving that within their game. But taking a look here at Minecraft, what is Mojang, or I guess Microsoft is telling us, is that you need at least a Core i3, right, third generation Core i3, which you could use integrated graphics, Intel HD graphics, or at least a GeForce 405. they're out there, I guess, and a Radeon 7 and the HD 7290. That's at the minimum with at least just 2 gigabytes of DDR3. Now, that's essentially potato-like specs right there. I mean, that's kind of like, you pick up an old mom and pop, computer that they don't use anymore. It has an i3 Core 2 Duo inside, or just a third generation Core i3, no graphics card. And you say, but hey, can I play something on it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, if you say, well, I want to build a system because I only want to play Minecraft, right? I only want to build a system because I only want to play Minecraft. Well, their recommended specs very much still potato-like, fam. A GT 710 or an R5 210, 4 gigabytes of DDR3, and an i5 4690 and an A10 7800 as an AMD alternative. Very much still a potato. You can achieve this with, I mean, an AMD on Ryzen, right? An AMD Ryzen 2200G. I talk about the 2200G a lot. AMD should be paying me too. We're gonna reach out to them. We're gonna get with AMD. But you could achieve the recommended and still very much exceed it, because the Vega 8 onboard integrated graphics on the 2200G has more computational units than the 710 and the 210. So it's going to be able to process those graphics much faster, which then will turn to more FPS. 2200G, what's that? $169 CPU, B450 motherboard, or A320 motherboard, about another $50 to $60, and a single, maybe 8 gigabytes of DDR3 is what I'd recommend. And you're looking at a system that's under about $350. You wouldn't even need a graphics card. Now the beautiful thing about that is what had us in tip number 3 or 4 was, I believe, and that's spending what you can now and just investing in more later. So if you only want to play Minecraft now and say, well, I also want to play Fortnite, it's picking up popularity again. I also want to play Fortnite. I started out with this system to play Minecraft. It only has 8 gigabytes of DDR3. I don't even have a dedicated graphics card. I have just a CPU with integrated graphics with like the 2200G or the 3400G. I'm ready to upgrade to something that's a little bit more faster to give me more performance. You want to up your games. This is why I say it's okay to spend what you can now and just invest later down the road. So let's say you hit a wall and you're ready to get into some Fortnite, or I'm sorry, not The Witcher 3, but you're ready to get into some Fortnite. So what would you need to play Fortnite even on a minimum recommended level? Now you can get away again with HD graphics, right? HD 4000 graphics. I imagine though that's very much 720p low settings, right? You would have to run that game at 720p low settings to even be at maybe like 20 to 30 FPS. Um, but to up your skills or to up the graphic quality, you're looking at a seventh generation Skylake i5, which is a mobile part. That's what the U stands for. So it's a mobile, or mobile being a laptop counterpart, which are normally cut down to help compensate for heat and power draw. So they're slightly slower. They have like lower clock speeds and lower boost speeds so that they don't get too hot or draw too much power. But a seventh generation i5, right? So you can almost substitute this with a 7400 or a 7500, i5 7400 or 7500, and a GTX 660 or 7870, and then 8 gigabytes of DDR3. So if you look at your Minecraft specs, let's double back here to the Minecraft specs really fast. So you say, Lab, I built for the recommended, and I got 8 gigabytes of RAM because I took your advice, and I built slightly above the recommended specs because, again, we don't necessarily take the developers, recommendations at face value. They're a good starting point. If they tell you that the recommended is 4 gigabytes, Windows is going to take up at least 1 gigabyte or a gigabyte and a half. So to give yourself better cushion, add money to your budget and go with 8 gigabytes of DDR3 where you can. Even if that's a matter of saving up an extra 30 or 40 bucks, it's going to be worth it. Bad Habit, it's good to see you, Bad Habit. What's happening, Bad Habit? Bad Habit says, my 570 runs at 1,000 degrees if watching YouTube and playing Roblox at the same time. So, I understand there's a little bit of hyperbole there, but, that's an RX 570, I imagine. But, what model is that? bad habit. I apologize if you shared it before, and I'm just ignorant and just a bad. My memory is not the best. But is it a reference 570 with like the single blower, and so it gets like loud and the turbines kick in, or is it an add-in board card where you have two fans and something to that extent? But that's interesting because Roblox isn't that demanding, and then YouTube, but yeah, his bad habit says, yes, sir. How's everyone going? Yeah, I mean, we're here and we're talking about 5 things I wish I'd have known before getting into PC gaming. 5 things that there are viewers out there in the audience that should know as well before they make the switch. And bad habit, I know you're an experienced veteran. If there's any of your expertise, I am encouraging our community to GTX 570. I stand corrected. Okay, totally wrong. Okay, yeah, GTX 570. All right. Yeah, it's older, but that's still dude, that's awesome. It really warms my heart when I see older hardware like that still kicking and pushing, bro. Even if it is, or fam, even if it is at 1,000 degrees, or what, it's getting the job done playing Roblox and hopefully, watching me on YouTube, which I greatly appreciate it. If you were here listening for my watch time spiel, but I mean, look at that, friends and fam, in the audience and here on the replay. Bad Habits GTX 570 is 11 years old and still getting a job done. Early in the live stream, Sunny asked that, does AMD graphics cards or NVIDIA graphics cards last longer? And like I said, it's a that's an unknown, that's a tough question to give a definitive answer to because there are so many different variables to take into consideration, like where the user may live, right? Is it hotter more often where they live, or is it colder? Are they in a colder climate? Are they in a mixed climate? Are they in a dry climate? Are they in a climate where dust is more produced, right? Like there's so many different factors to take into consideration. But lo and behold, Bad Habit is using an 11-year-old NVIDIA graphics card, the GTX 570. So that just adds, I guess, clairvoyance to what I said earlier about it. It really depends on the user. Maybe Bad Habit has done their best at maintaining their graphics cards. Health is wealth. With humans and your hardware, you can keep your hardware because heat and dust are component killers. Which, if you want more context about that conversation, I again invite you to the weekly live experience most recent playlist to watch that conversation because we talked about component killers and different factors that could shorten the lifespan of your components. And although Bad Habit is implying that their graphics card gets hot to this day, which I imagine so, um, which Bad Habit have you give us a yes or no in the chat if you've replaced the GPU thermal paste on your GTX 570? But the fact that even the thermal paste, I could be wrong, part of my ignorance if I'm wrong, but even the fact that the thermal paste is holding up for 11 years, just as testimony to the build quality and that graphics card, right? The 500 series graphics card, which I can't remember the series name off the top of my head, but it's 11 years old. But I love seeing hardware being utilized. Um, when it has double digit figures attached to its age, right? That graphics card has probably lasted much longer than even what its manufacturers had pegged it to be. Although the graphics card will last as long as it's being taken care of. You may or may not own a vehicle, but it's very similar to owning a vehicle. Your vehicle will last as long as you take care of it. You can have a car with 150,000 miles on it. You can have a car with 200,000 miles on it. You can have a car with 220,000 miles on it. If you take care of it, then it will last, and you should take care of the things you want to last a long time. As I see, Bad Habit says, yes, I did replace it 4 months ago. Okay, so cool. But even still, I mean, just replacing it 4 months ago, that's still within 11 years, right? Like that was back in what, February or January? Bad Habit says, doesn't older hardware burn more electricity? So by burning more electricity, yes, they're not as power efficient. Is what the is how I would categorize that. So yes, older hardware, they're not as power efficient, so they will draw more power than is required to power that component. So the rest of that electricity is wasted in, say, heat. So that heat then has to go somewhere. But heat is generated by electricity and power. So the more electricity that's being generated to power that component, the more heat that's being generated. And that's why I'm like, your graphics card to last 11 years is still very much astonishing because, yeah, it's not as power efficient. So it's been getting irregular power delivery for the last 11 years when there have been advancements in semiconductor technology that have made, more power efficient graphics cards. For example, a Vega 8 CPU we just talked about, Vega 8 or Vega 11 base 2200G or 2400G, likely is more power efficient than even a GTX 570. And being that they're not even dedicated, they have integrated graphics onto those CPUs, but being that the CPU is essentially two parts in one, it's still very much more, it's more power efficient than a GTX 570. So it's really what it boils down is to, is to power efficiency and how much that even really means to you, because some people don't even really like worry about their electric bill, but they should. We have obviously more than one computer that's plugged up to sockets here in this home, so we definitely are a little power conscious. Bad habit says I'm using a better PSU for it though, and that's definitely so. Using a gold or bronze, silver rated power supply is definitely going to help with maintaining that power delivery and maintaining that power efficiency, as it's only going to deliver the maximum amount of power all of your components, your whole system is going to be required to pull. So good stuff there though, bad habit. Good stuff. So switching back here to Minecraft system specs, their system requirements. And again, not taking it for at face value, but taking it with a grain of salt. But if you had planned slightly above the recommended specs at its initial phase, you did your research, maybe got a Ryzen 5 1600X, right? If you didn't want to go with a dedicated graphics card, but let's say you went with that Ryzen 5 20 or Ryzen 3 2400G, right? Which is much faster than obviously HD graphics, 4000 HD graphics. But either way, between a GT 710 and a Radeon R5 210, you can where in between, let's say an RX 570 or an RX 560, right? Which would be faster than either one of these two options and will cost you slightly lower, slightly less. And even here, definitely you can go with single rank or one slot or a single stick of RAM at 8 GB. Now, in that setup alone, we're looking at a 2400G and a B450 motherboard and 8 GB of RAM. That's a system that would cost you under $300, which would be a very good start to play this game at 1080p 60 hertz. Matt Meach says your UPC players are going to go nuts once you get Ghost of Tsushima ported over. I mean, yeah, I think more so what the community is looking forward to is God of War. We had games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Detroit Become Human slowly make their way over, and now Days Gone. Listen to me sounding all crunchy. And now Days Gone has made its way over too. But listen, let me switch back here because I smell a highlight rant coming over. My issue with Sony is they should have long have developed and provided the PC platform as a whole with a dedicated launcher, at least indefinitely for their PS4 exclusive or just their PC exclusive, their Sony exclusives altogether in general. They should have just made a launcher as opposed to slow dripping their exclusive games to making them available on Steam and Epic Game Store. They could have just developed a dedicated launcher and made those games available on their launcher. Yes, I get it. Not everybody, the last thing PC users want is another launcher. But launchers are necessary. They're a necessary part of the process. But Sony should have long launched let me see if I can get Piper on camera. Sony should have long launched um a dedicated launcher. And this is Piper. Before I lose track of thought, this is Piper. He's making a special guest appearance. Piper Boom Thrust Zoom Kitty. That's his full government. He's a rescue. We rescued him here in our home here by Rising Sun in Maryland. He was a feral cat. His family was killed on the side of the road, and he was rescued by people we knew at that moment. And he was just a tiny thing, and so we rescued good old Piper. he's camera shy. He doesn't really like it, as he's not really he's uninterested. He's trying to break away and get down. But I was talking about Sony. Sony should make a launcher. Piper thinks Sony should too, because you guys couldn't see him. He was scratching over at Mrs. Mod over there trying to get her attention, and he's got my attention. But he came into the conversation. We were talking about Sony developing a launcher, a dedicated launcher, and so they should develop a dedicated launcher. But here's the reason why Sony won't. Because then, what's the reason to buy their consoles at that point? To where Sony needs a reason for you to buy their consoles, their games being exclusively on their consoles first, is that reason to buy into the Sony ecosystem. That's not saying Sony isn't a competent. Sony doesn't produce competent, consoles. I myself, you would consider a Sony fanboy, but and that's because I preferred, the PlayStation over my platform if I wasn't playing Microsoft exclusives. But yeah, Sony should go ahead and just develop a PC launcher, and I'd be all for it. I would support it. I would download it. I'd make videos on it. Sony, if you're watching, or if Sony's peeps are watching, um, hey, get on board with it. Make a dedicated launcher for a PC user so we can download and enjoy your exclusives. Nobody said Sony don't make good exclusives. Most of the community will generally agree that most of Sony's exclusives are better than Microsoft exclusives, as Microsoft here hasn't really been producing good exclusives. They've just been buying them all up. Like Skyrim, the next Skyrim will be a Microsoft exclusive. You better believe it. At least starting out, it's going to be a Microsoft exclusive. So, but Sony here, they have the ability to develop solid exclusives, and so I would love to play. Yeah, God of War, Days Gone. I'm looking forward to playing with, and I mean it's something we're going to jump in doing a pop up live stream, and that's get into some Days Gone after we beat Alien Isolation. But yeah, Sony should give with the times. Now, see, we had a few more people join in. They're like, what is he doing with a cat? Sorry, we had Piper Boom Zoom. Can he make a guest appearance here on a live show? He's actually never really this chill being held. So I think he's just flexing in front of the camera. Let me get caught up here in the chat really fast. I don't know how he might flip out in a second. But Matt Meach has said that the game is beautiful, referring to Ghost of Tsushima. I've heard nothing but great things about Ghost of Tsushima from a close buddy of mine who plays it. I think is a mutual friend of ours too, Matt Meach. Scott. Scott plays Ghost of Tsushima. He has said nothing but good things about it. Um, and I don't know. Hey, let me see if you're gonna hang out right here. Are you gonna chill right there? It's a cat, and you guys, cats have their own way of thinking. And are you gonna stay there? Huh? What? I tried. I tried. Now you're being a major distraction right now. But yeah, Ghost of Tsushima does look really great. But guess what? No shade to consoles, but it'll look even better on a PC. And Bad Habit says God of War. Oh my. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? And Matt Meat says, "Oh, nice. That's going to be nice too, God of War." Yeah, and Bad Habit says, "I would download it in 1 second." Absolutely, me too. Matter of fact, I wanted to play God of War, but I said I'm not buying a PlayStation just to play God of War, and I was let down and upset by Sony's last exclusive that was new. It was a new IP, and that was The Order. I was really looking forward to that game. I hope he doesn't press him on the keyboard and like say end the stream or something. His tail is just like okay, yeah. The cat. He's not like the bunny. Last week the bunny popped up and knocked stuff down and threw Obi-Wan and Yoda out of the shelf. But fam, this is live. This is live content. My pets normally don't disturb the VOD process recorded video. But yeah, God of War, I would download it too in a heartbeat. I really would. And Matt Me says you can already do remote play from PC. Yeah, but the connection is really wonky. The connection is really wonky. Matt Me says the cats need support. We feed the strays over here in Newark. Our dogs hate it. Matt Meach, I know you said you had to go. I hope you still watching, but that's awesome, man. Kudos to you. I love dogs. Dogs are great, but I mean, I'm more of a cat person. I really love my cat. Man, I mean, we have a dog. We have a rescued dog too. As a lot of our pets are all rescued pets, but we have a rescued dog too, and he's awesome. But my cat, man, he's just Piper has a great personality, and he like meows if you sneeze, right? It's weird. Like he no cat, my cat will like meow you if you sneeze, or he meows me if I sneeze. He doesn't do it with like my wife, but the cat will like meow like if saying bless you after I sneeze. It's weird, but man, my cat, you gotta love my cat. But that's awesome, Matt Meach, which I believe you changed your name, right? But that's great. You guys do that, man. Kudos to you. Sonny says thank you inside the lab, and hello to your beautiful cat. I'm leaving for now. I am subscribed to your channel and be watching your videos from now on. God bless you, and you will shine. Thank you, Sonny. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the the encouragement. I appreciate you being here and being an active member in this community. Sunny, at any of the videos you may come across here on the channel, if you have any questions about them, do be sure to leave the comment down below. Let me know how you enjoyed those videos, and most importantly, here's a shameful plug really fast here. Sunny, if you are on Instagram or if you are on Twitter, if you're on either two of those platforms, one and not the other, it's fine. Follow me on Twitter at Inside the Lab YT, and follow me on Instagram at Inside the Lab YT. Twitter or Instagram, they're both at Inside the Lab YT. Sunny, give me a follow over there on those websites, and on those sites you can reach out to me anytime. Also, sign up for our email list down in the comment section, down in the description box below on your way out. That way you can get connected over on our Discord, and we can keep the community strong as ever over there. It's good times over there. And Sunny said, thanks, Mrs. Mod. You do have a great weekend. And Matt Meach says, playing Ghost of Tsushima on my PS4 Pro and listening. Yep, changed my name. Awesome. That's good times, Matt Meach. I will say, I'm not completely caught up in the content, but normally after a live stream, I do like to like detox a little bit, and I will jump in and play some games. But because I have some upcoming content next week, I probably won't play anything like too story driven heavy. But I may be jumping to some casual gaming myself. But games like Ghost of Tsushima, getting lost in story-driven games like that is just a visceral experience. Sunny says, sure, following you right away on your social media. Bye. Yeah, Sunny, I appreciate you. Sunny, you hung out for quite a good length of the show, and I do appreciate you, Sunny. Yeah, Sunny, when you follow me, Sunny, I'm just gonna say Sunny. I don't know why I'm saying Sunny. Sunny, when you follow me over on Instagram or Twitter, do let me know that it's you, that you're Lab Fam. Just give me like, hey, what's up, Lab? I'm Lab Fam. I'm here. I'm going to follow you back because I do believe in following, the members here in this community. And Mad Meech says, yep. Yeah, so yeah, Demetrius. I figured, like, I saw the name. I'm like, Meech. Okay, yeah, that got to be my guy, D. Demetrius is in the house. Feeding the cats. That's something, if I had more, like financial freedom, to me is being able to do the things you want to do when you want to do them. And if I was completely financially free, that I would probably enjoy spending time doing things like that in between the normal grind of keeping the bag coming. But yeah, I would love to like, feed cats and just spend time with cats. Cats are awesome. Dogs are awesome too. Hold the phone, fam. Dogs are awesome, and dogs make for uh, wonderful companions. They really do, because they love unconditionally. But they make for just awesome companions and partners. Dogs are awesome, but cats is where it's at with their personality. But switching back here, so yeah, if we're looking at Minecraft system requirements, I was recommending that again when it comes to tip number 5, and that's checking the settings in every game before you play them. In translation, before you buy them. Why would you want to do that? For starters, you want to make sure you can even run the bloody thing. You want to make sure you can even run the game. So this is why the fifth tip was to I didn't check the settings in all and every game that I wanted to play. Rather, that was upcoming games that are already out right now, a little bit of both. It can even be older games, right? A game like Minecraft that continuously evolves, or games that are serviced like World of Warcraft, Fallout 76, any MMO, games that constantly change. Not necessarily games like Demetrius had pointed out, or Mad Meech, like Ghost of Tsushima, may get like DLC drops, but games that get routinely changes underneath the hood or to their aesthetics, games like Fallout 76, that's just two examples to where those games could change and could also reduce your performance output along the way. So this is why it's good to build slightly above the game specs and look at the system requirements for those games. Look at the specs and try to build slightly above. Don't just get 4 GB of DDR3 just because that's what the game's recommended requirement is. Take into consideration that Windows, and you might have like YouTube, like Demetrius and somebody else that pointed out, Bad Habit, I believe it was, saying they were playing Bad Habit was playing Roblox and listening, and D is playing Ghost of Tsushima and listening. So you may want to do other things while you're gaming. I understand they're doing it, could be doing it on two separate systems because one's on console, one's on PC. But if you're on your PC and you want to, like, say, stream music while you're playing Minecraft, your system is going to have to, allocate resources to run your browser and anything that's going on that needs to be processed in the browser. On top of that, your game. So 4 GB most likely won't be enough. So you want to build slightly above that. So if you took my words and adhered to my advice, and you said, well, yeah, I built Minecraft, I'm done playing Minecraft. I also want to play some Fortnite, but I want to be at the recommended level. So you're already at the recommended level with 8 GB of DDR3. You have a 2200G as your CPU with integrated graphics. So you're still, there to run the game at maybe 720p high settings or 720p low settings, maybe 1080p low settings with everything turned down. But you are slightly above or at the recommended specs. That the worst thing you would need to do is say up your DDR3, right? Beyond the 8 GB that you have. Because if the game recommends you have 8 GB of DDR3, what they don't tell you in the game specs, and this is why I say don't take them as a definitive guide, but a good stepping stone, is that you need to take into consideration that your system will be doing other things. And that 8 GB, if that's what the game needs, you need to also allocate or have enough memory resources for other processes that need to be executed within your system or in the back end of your system. What are those things? Well, we talked about streaming music. You could have Discord running in the background, right? You could be streaming, which I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be doing at 8 GB in order to integrate a CPU. But in this case, you may want to slowly start to consider upgrading. You say, you know what, I've been using 8 GB of DDR3. What's another single stick of DDR3 RAM? Or maybe I can upgrade to a faster dual rank solution, say 16 GB of 3200 megahertz or 2666 megahertz. Even if you're on an older platform, say like DDR3, and you want to make that switch, you very much could. This would be the time to where you would upgrade as your needs are also upgrading and shifting. You can consider it like growth. You can, if you have a child or a young child, then because I have four, then you know this to be true too. You will notice your child goes through certain stages, and as they evolve and get older, throughout those certain stages, their needs also slowly change, and you have to find ways to accommodate those needs. Not comparing your computer to your child, because I have Mrs. Mod sitting right here, and I already don't want the crazy sideways look that I get when I already include my systems as my children. But not comparing your computer to your child, but just saying, just like as human children get older, their needs change. As your hardware gets older, so and your needs change, you may need to make accommodations to improve or adhere to those expectations. For example, wanting to play Fortnite at its recommended specs, having 8 GB of VRAM most likely won't be enough. You could upgrade to say 16 GB of dual channel memory, maybe even a dedicated video card from that 2200G, maybe something along the lines of a RX 570 or an R9 280 or an R9 390, maybe a graphics card in say like the $200 to $300 price range. You could start to try to be at while also improving your CPU, because now you're starting to play even more demanding games, which switch here, looking at The Witcher 3. Let's use The Witcher 3 as an example here for a game that would require beefier recommended specs. And for starters, that's with the minimum GPU, because this game, you can't run it on integrated graphics. You need a dedicated graphics card, at least a GTX 660 or a 7870. So you would want to be at least at the recommended specs when it comes to this game, and at least a 7th generation or higher, or an R9 290. Very good spots to be in, especially if you are slowly upgrading your system to play and run more graphically demanding games, going from say Fortnite and Minecraft, Roblox, I can never say it, going from those games to say a Witcher 3 or a Cyberpunk 2077 or a Resident Village, Resident Evil 8 Village, a game that just requires so much more GPU horsepower. Um, looking at the minimum specs, looking at your game specs before you buy the game and before you configure your hardware is going to save you time and money, save you frustrations and headaches, and you won't have to worry about being let down because your system can't properly run a game you were looking forward to play. So switching back to our fifth tip, it was checking the settings in your games before buying them. Checking the settings, also checking the minimum and the recommended system specifications. Man, I butcher that word every time. The minimum and recommended specs for that game in tandem. Doing these things before buying the game, before configuring your system, before making a jump into PC gaming. For a typical buyer, it starts and ends with games. If you're a creative, you're already in the market for higher end hardware and you're already in the same category that a gamer would be in, right? In that case, research the software, like in terms of you're a creative. In that case, you want to research the software, applications, programs, all of the programs you want to use to make sure that you are building a system, right? To make sure that you are building a system that you will get the most out of your applications. And the same can be said with your games. I almost can't talk, fam. It's because the rain's got me all messed up. I love the rain. This is why I went turtleneck today, right? I had to give y'all turtleneck Terrence today. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes with if you're a creative and you more so want to make sure your specs are hitting on the right cylinders. You could also look up the recommended specifications, your recommended PC hardware for say like Photoshop or Fruity Loops or any kind of music program you may use or graphic manipulation software you may use if you're a photographer, right? You want to look at the minimum and recommended specs for that software application to make sure you're building a system that's capable of adhering to your workflow or that's going to keep up with your workflow and not have to make a forced upgrade early on in your system's lifespan because you simply didn't plan on say needing you want to edit videos and clearly 8 gigabytes isn't going to be enough. You want at least 16 gigabytes, or you want to edit pictures, you want to edit for you want to be a photographer. 8 gigabytes likely won't be enough, as even pictures, if you're shooting in RAW, have a higher base canvas, like 38 or 4,000 something by 4,000. So you want as much memory as possible, and you don't want to be like, man, I just built my system and I already have to add, more RAM to it. This is what kills the momentum for new enthusiasts and new users to get into PC gaming, and that it's that idea that you need to constantly upgrade to have a capable, competent system, but not necessarily. Do your research, do all of these things before, before building or buying your system. Now, really fast here, let's quickly go over 1 through 5 as we reach the fifth tip for this live stream. And the overall theme of this live stream was 5 things I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming, and 5 things essentially you should know before wanting to make the switch into PC gaming. Mistakes and mistakes I've made along the way, mistakes that can help prevent you from having to spend extra money or extra time with the process of getting into PC gaming. Number one was investing more time and money into my monitor or into your monitor. This should be, in terms of on your list of parts to buy, this should be up there right along with your CPU and GPU. You should familiarize yourself with resolutions and refresh rates and response time. Which resolution could be right for you? Is that 1920 by 1080p? Is that 2560 by 1440p? Is that 3840 by 2160p? 1080p being the most commonly used flexible resolution, 2560 by 1440p being balanced, providing a rich and robust detailed experience, also requiring you to have a beefier graphics card, at least with 6 gigabytes of VRAM or more. The higher the better, because the higher VRAM is required, because with the higher resolution comes higher textures need to be rendered regardless of the graphic settings. And of course 3840 by 2060p being the highest quote unquote practical resolution that will provide a detailed, much higher level of graphic fidelity and pixel density in your games. But it is extremely demanding on your hardware. And we talked about in this segment on how not to just settle on using any old monitor lying around your house. Put just as much thought in your resolution and refresh rate that you do with all of your other core components, because your system drives your monitor, and it's not only the window to your PC's soul, but it's what empowers your experience. Tip number two was that issues will arrive, and just based off of Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Talking about Ghost of Tsushima, we were talking about Ghost in your machine, that you will get random blue screens, random green screens if you're in the Insider program, um, random OS and system freezes, maybe your games will crash, problems will arise, issues will arise. It's better to familiarize yourself with the process so that you are comfortable and efficient when handling these issues. You can download different software applications, you can download different tools to help you along the way. We talked about some of the most common reasons why you get a green screen or a blue screen. G sides means green screen of death. They're the same thing as a blue screen, with the green being reflective of you having an insider preview version of Windows 10, and the blue screen being the most common, prompt to arise should you run into an issue with your system. If you're seeing this and you're on your PC, you're like, oh no, I got a blue screen, I got a B side, and but Lab is still talking. No, don't worry, it's just a graphics image. It's just a graphic image. You didn't get a B side, although it really it's a terrifying moment to get one. But don't worry, the stop codes are generally a good place to help you. Just Google is your friend. Google, 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 Google. Google is your friend. Sorry, I didn't mean to harmonize that, but Google is your friend. Look up your stop codes, but some of your most common issues that arise from B-sides are either related to your RAM and a bad XMP. Maybe you have hard drive issues, storage issues, incompatible firmware, I mean, corrupt drivers, excuse me, or your system is suffering from a malware infection, or it could be a mixed bag of all or more, more than one of these issues. But either way, blue screens of death, green screens of death, they are both there to help protect your system, to avoiding any severe damage should is- issues underneath the hood arise or pop up. But again, tip number two is familiarize yourself with these problems so that you are better prepared to handle them when they arise, not if they arise. Remember Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, then it will. Familiarize yourself with the nuances of owning the PC, because yes, there are some. Number three was spending. It's okay to spend now, spend what you can, and invest later. It goes a little bit into what we talked about, how upgrading, say you want to build a system that can run Minecraft. So you only have $320 to spend. So you need to build a system within that budget, because you want to get started. You can't get started if you don't get moving. What is the objective? Reaching the top of that pinnacle, getting to experience games in the best possible way, and that is on a PC. So, spend what you can now and then invest later. Graphics cards cost a lot of money, sure, but if you want a decent one, you're going to have to pay. But you can start off with, say, like a CPU with integrated graphics, like the 2200G, and then just invest in your experience later on down the road. Build with what you can buy right now, especially when deciding on your CPU and your GPU, your motherboard too, but your motherboard and CPU, especially if you're on a modest budget and you can't afford a dedicated video card. But another tip that I had gave during this segment here with tip number three, and that was to settle early on your case, on your tower, on your chassis. Try to pick from at least three different options, take into consideration, upgradability and compatibility. I also did a shameless plug because we talked a great deal about cases in last week's live stream. So if you are at that part of your journey, right, if you're climbing a mountain and you got to that component where you're starting with your case and you're unsure of where to start and you want a really solid conversation, again, that's going to help with watch time here on the channel and to get the content in front of more people, check out that conversation. It was all good stuff there. But you want at least three different options. We have a few helpful recommendations over in the description box for that video. Um, Tip number 4 was avoid getting caught up with the ops. That's OPS. That's other people's systems. That's AKA keeping up with the Joneses. If you didn't know, you don't want to keep up with the Joneses. You want to avoid the ops. Avoid other people's systems. Okay. Don't worry about what something. Don't worry about what someone else has, and worry about more on what it is you want out of a PC. What you want out of a system. Is that a killer 1080p 60 hertz Minecraft experience, or is that, say, Cyberpunk 2077 at 2560 by 1440p? So the concept behind avoiding the ops is that person who needed the ladder, who wants to play Cyberpunk at 1440p, is going to need to spend more money than you who wants to play Minecraft at 1080p. Your system could slowly build up to have the ability to play Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p, but for right now, don't get caught up in the other person's system just because that's what they spent to get what they want, to get an experience that they're targeting. They want to play Cyberpunk in high graphic settings and a higher refresh rate. You maybe want to play Minecraft. You don't even care about the settings. You just want to play Minecraft over on a PC. Don't get caught up in the ops, fam. This could put you in a mindset that what you can afford is inferior or just simply not good enough. And I don't want anybody, especially in this community, to have that mindset. And I tell you what, Lab fam, let me just interlude here. Oh no, if let me just interlude here really fast, because if you do know somebody in your community and like your Facebook page or somebody on your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed, send them here. Send them here because what you have is good enough. It's not about the amount of money you have to put in your system that matters. It's what you put in there. It's what you decide to actually put in there that matters. Don't get caught up in other people's ops, okay? Other people's systems. And then for the fifth and final tip, it was checking the settings in the game before buying them. Again, this is something I wish I did more of um, before I even had the thought of switching over to PC. Again, doing so while I'm researching the type of monitor and refresh rate and resolution I want to play on. I started out at 1080p 60 hertz, and then I slowly evolved from 2560 by 1440p to wanting an ultra wide experience as a creator and as a gamer, and slowly bounce into 1440p if I'm gaming on like the core shredder rig. Which again, if you want to, I highly point you to the Tetralogy, the 4-part RTX 3090 6 months review we did last month. You can find all 4 of those videos with the links down in the description box below. With I believe 3 and 4, you don't have to watch them in any particular order. Although if you were to watch them in an order, I would watch the unboxing video first, the review video first while we benchmark it, and of course the DLSS and ray tracing. I would watch it in that order. They really play out like a Star Wars series, all really helpful and entertaining content there. But tip number 5 was to check the settings in every game before you play. Don't use the minimum and the required specs, right? Like we looked at, say, we looked at Minecraft, and I mentioned that the recommended settings, don't look at them as a definitive guide, but more so like a balance between finding that balance between detailed graphics at a playable fresh rate, but they are a good stepping stone to give you a general idea of where you would want to start if you were looking to build a system that was exclusively for, say, playing Minecraft. And you say, I only want to play Minecraft right now. Sure, your needs may change, right? 2, 3 months down the road, while you still may want to play Minecraft. Let's say you also want to play Fortnite. Let's say you want to jump into Fortnite. So we looked at Minecraft specs to jump back really fast here, and I said if your system, if the recommended specs is calling for 4 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, then invest in your experience with going with 8 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. And so when you're ready to up the games you play, you're already at or above the recommended specs when you're ready to, say, level up and play slightly more demanding games. We also looked at the Witcher 3 system requirements as a baseline for a graphically demanding game, right? Which almost certainly recommends in both their minimum and recommended requirements to use a dedicated video card. So if you said, oh man, my friends are telling me, Lab said The Witcher 3 is a good game. My friends are telling me The Witcher 3 is a good game. I really want to play it, but I don't have a dedicated video card. It's like, where should I start? A GTX 660 and you want to be somewhere between a 660 and an R9 290 or a 770. So, at least a GTX maybe 960 would be a really good place to put you at above the recommended specs. Like you are a generation above what even CDPR is recommending for this game. And really, it shouldn't stop there. You should still check the settings in your games even after you build your system, even after your system is built. Go and look at the system requirements and look at what settings are more demanding on the CPU and more demanding on the GPU. And that way, you know going in how to tweak the settings to your style of play, whether that's competitive or casual. You want to build in between both minimum and recommended requirements, or minimum and recommended specifications. You want to build somewhere in between the both of them. With modern games, native 1080p low settings is greater than 720p high settings, but that's with a dedicated video card. On integrated graphics, which say, for example, again, what Minecraft recommended, right, as in terms of a bare minimum HD graphics 4000, 720p low settings will likely be your ceiling. That'll be likely the highest you can go in terms of maintaining a balanced experience at a frame rate that is playable to you. And 720p is very much still considered HD. It's a few, 200 plus pixels less than 1080, but 300 pixels less than 1080p. But the kicker here is that you will be able to experience the game at a much playable frame rate. I believe it was Sunny earlier in the live show that uh, had the question where they were saying they were getting 20 to 25 FPS in Cyberpunk 2077 on a 960M, which is a mobile graphics card on a laptop, and an i7. I missed the i7. I believe it was a 47. I missed the i7, but it was an i7 and a 960M. And what I recommended was to lower your resolution down to 720p because you are likely going to 2x your FPS, and it'll immediately make a vast difference in the way the game plays. I recommended ZFluent last week's live stream that he do the same thing with Fortnite, and him and my son are friends. They are the same age. I believe they're the same age. I'm pretty sure they're the same age. Either way, him and I was able to confirm that it did help boost his experience in Fortnite and provide a much better playable experience. So this is what I recommend if you're on integrated graphics to lower your resolution. And then we talked about that, in this segment, that for a typical buyer, it starts with your games and ends with your games. But if you're a creative, it's going to start with obviously the software applications you want to use, whether that's Photoshop or Adobe Premiere, GIMP, what have you. I seem to only be able to think of those three, but so yeah. But if you're creative, it's going to start with the software or programs you use, and if you're a gamer, it's obviously going to start with the games you use. Now, jumping into our final thoughts, aka the wrap up, because things like not putting enough thought into my monitor and refresh rate alongside the games, or the type of games that I knew I wanted to play, or the type of games that I knew I was going to want to play, or not preparing or familiarizing myself with the nuances of owning a PC, right? Overthinking my budget and getting caught up by the ops. Remember, getting caught up with the ops, getting caught up in other people's systems. Um, and just the nuances of owning a PC, because it's not clear cut and dry. Even if you have somebody build it for you, you could still very much run into complications and issues down the road. So because I didn't properly prepare myself with the nuances of owning a PC, I had to learn along the way very early and very fast to protect my hardware, right? To protect my investments is something we all want to do, especially being how expensive PC gaming is. We want to protect our investments. We want to protect our property. We want to protect the things that matter to us the most, and that we want to have a long lifespan. In this case, that's things like your graphics cards. Bad Habit, who I'm not sure is still with us earlier, but still with us now, but Bad Habit that was with us earlier had mentioned that they're still using a GTX 570. So, and they just replaced their GPU paste. So that's a good sign, a good indicator that Bad Habit has been taking care of their hardware, and it's lasted 11 years. That's incredible for a graphics card to last that long. Now, I've made these mistakes so that you could limit or eliminate them altogether, the amount you make. The title was Five Mistakes, Five Things I Wish I Knew Before Getting into PC Gaming. But I wanted to humble myself and share in these things so that you will either again limit or eliminate the amount of mistakes you might make during your ascension or during your journey, which is what we consider here in this community the climb, right? Making that ascension, reaching the pinnacle that is PC gaming. Regardless of where you at in that journey, I wanted to share in these 5 tips. These are just 5 that could be so much more. And if you're here watching on the replay and you made it this far, tell me down in the replay, right? If maybe there's a mistake you made and I just didn't mention it here during this live show, or if you made any of these mistakes or you are concerned about making any of these mistakes, do leave the comments down in the comment section below. I would love to know. But do know, speaking of knowing, time is a greater resource than money. But I want you to learn how to save both. Your setup is an investment, and you wouldn't invest in anything if you didn't look to get something out of it long term. What is that in this case? Well, that is value. We want long term value out of our PC hardware. For example, Bad Habit using their GTX 570 for 11 years. That is incredible value. That graphics card has lasted longer than what Nvidia themselves has probably said this graphics card can last. So that is definitely value for your money. And if, say, Bad Habit was ready to upgrade their graphics card, they can always sell that GTX 570 at a modest price, recoup some of the upgrade costs, and very much still pass that value on down to a user who, say, A, doesn't have a dedicated graphics card at all, or is looking to finish a build, say, with a CPU that doesn't have onboard graphics, a la anything AMD produces, because most of the non F based Intel CPUs all have um, integrated graphics aboard them. So saving a little bit of both, right? That's time and money. Saving a little bit of both now is going to give you more in the future, more time and money to play with. But all right, friends and fam, I think it is about time. Let me switch back here. I think it's about time to end the ride. I see we lost a little bit in viewerships. We did kind of ramble on a bit there, but still, if you're here on the replay and you made it this far, I always thank the replay viewers, whether you made it this far or not. You never know. One day, mark my words, and I'm going to commentate on it. They will get somebody who leaves a timestamp and tell me they did make it this far. Or I know we have community members who regularly are unable to attend the live show. So they say, hey, I'm going to watch on the replay, but either way, again, watch time is king here on this platform as a creator. And the more I am able to acquire, the more it helps me achieve some of my long-term goals here on this platform as a creator on this platform. But I would like to, as this ride slowly comes to an end, I want to do our quickly end shout out here, and then we'll wrap up with our house. No, I'm sorry, that's backwards. That is backwards behind. Let me switch here really fast because nope. Look at that handsome fella right there. Man, oh man. Okay, really fast. Unity starts with you. If you haven't quite yet, sign up for our email list. The invites to the Discord link, like Mad Cheap, Mad Meech. I'm sorry, D. I would love for you to join our Discord, especially getting helpful insight from an older gentleman, older brother from yourself. We would love to have you over there, regardless if you play on console or not. I know, hey, one day we're going to get you to convert over and join us over here on the PC, and get you over on the PC platform. But D, I would love to have you over on a Discord, just adding helpful and valuable, um, you know, conversation and healthy dialogue amongst other members in the community. Always a positive and just always great when you can just get around like-minded, respectful individuals. It's always an awesome thing. So yes, definitely D, would love to have you over there. And anybody else, if you're watching, of course, Unity starts with you. Sign up for our email list. All I need is your email, right? All I need is your email address and your first name, so we know where to send the information and what to call you. You can also unsubscribe from the email list at any time should I not be deemed worthy to, bless your inbox. And of course, we have merch, which you can support the channel directly in a super, super affordable way, even by as low as $4.99 by buying a sticker. We're going to launch other monetary programming here on the channel where you can support me monetarily as a creator. If you would like the things like buy me a coffee and channel memberships coming up here pretty soon. But we have merch. As Matt Meach said, I am cheap too, brother, right? We like to consider cheap by saying we're budget conscious, right? But yeah, cheap. Yeah, we about to save money. But good stuff here. Tech is expensive. But we have merch. Merch supports me as a creator in a super direct way. A lot of helpful, cool, premium looking swag over there. Hard line stuff like mugs, soft line stuff like stickers. Of course, the USB to plug. You know, represent the community, look good playing, feel good gaming. That's what it's all about. But we have a lot of different selections from you to choose from, and of course, an upcoming summer drop. We just added the. It's a little hot here for us, right, D, for hoodies, but we just added the no player in the wild line, one of my favorites, and it's a quote here. Excuse me, sorry about that. It's a quote here from the community, but we have the no player in the wild gear, one of my favorites that we've added here on the channel. Awesome, awesome shirt. And then of course the website, um, which is a brings the community, brings the brand, everything all together as a whole. You can view my complete videography over there, all the videos I've published as a YouTuber. I started to say a YouTuber, as a YouTuber, and of course, learn more about me right here in the About section. Contact me directly. And of course, keep up with our community blog, which I am again working behind the scenes on bringing more guests over to, have community blog posts and to add. That way, I can take that and then add it to the videography and say a video format is like a guide. So if it's a helpful content piece, I also want to add a video on top of that to supplement, or I guess if you will, enrich the post format, the blog content. So more blog content coming. And hey, if you're a writer, I may even reach out to you. You never know. So, but you can always contact me with helpful, destructive, or constructive criticism. Doesn't matter nonetheless. As I see D said, definitely will pick up some merchandise. Yeah, like, as an unmonetized channel at the moment, any money I make comes from other programs like consulting and affiliate marketing and selling merch. Buying merch directly supports me. Yeah, Teespring gets a cut, but this does support me monetarily, and even buying a sticker really goes a long way to, just to pay for different things that comes along with maintaining a channel. But yeah, check out the merch. Check out the merch. Always come back for the merch and share with a friend. Share this video out with a friend. Share the channel out with a friend. Again, we're on a 10,000 subscriber milestone. I also want to welcome you, if you haven't yet, again, to check out the four-part Aces Rock Series, the tetralogy that we launched. And Mad Meech D, I'm not sure if you were present for the anniversary live stream we did, the year two anniversary live stream. It's about an hour, but it plays out like a TV special, if you will. It's very different from the traditional live stream format, like our live experience show, where that's more interactive or what have you. But yeah, definitely check out the anniversary live stream. Give that a watch, and like and comment and let me know what you think. Like and comment and let me know what you thought or what you think. If you got a good solid hour, again, it's super different format. Anybody else, if you haven't, if you're here now and you're here up to this point at the replay, I highly recommend you give the year two anniversary live stream a watch. It really highlights, our some of the highlights in year two and some of what to expect in the future. But I also do have a channel update video that I will be publishing probably next week, most likely next week. Um, so yeah, and I see we had a few more people join on. Again, I do apologize. You came in towards the end of the show here, where we talked about 5 things I wish I knew before getting into PC gaming. What I would recommend you do is head up to the very top of this live stream. As soon as it ends, I leave it up as it is. But if you are interested in learning about those 5 things that I wish I knew before getting to PC gaming, you want to learn about them too, so you don't make those same mistakes. I'm going to leave timestamps immediately after I publish this video. I jump into the description box and add the timestamps. I'm going to add timestamps so you can get that content in an easier digestible form. And Bad Habit says, looking forward to that Micro Center live stream. I know, right? Like, fam, definitely going to do. I definitely want to take you guys and gals with me when I go to Micro Center. It's just every time that I have the ability to go, it's normally outside of content, and I'm just like, oh, I need to go. I can't get the camera. I can't, be camera ready. But don't worry, I do want to do a Micro Center vlog, and that is coming up, where you guys jump in the car with me, go on the road for me, get coffee with me. I probably have to get permission to record in the Micro Center. So yeah, I would love to take you guys and gals along the journey. But awesome stuff, Bad Habit. But hey, friends and fam, that'll be all for this one. I do appreciate everybody that stopped by. Bad Habit, Mad Meech, uh, Sunny Sunny, Sunny Sunny. Let me go back up. I know we had Cliff, XLR Gaming that was present with us earlier. Z Fluent, Zesty, Crazy 1K, Thunder, my son, Sparta Rules 1993, who again earlier in the live stream that I mentioned that I am collabing with Sparta Rules 1993, I guess you could say, and I'm going to build Anthony's system for him. He's going to ship it over here to me. And I'm going to build it for him, document the process, and highlight his journey for him getting his build completed. And if I'm saying bye to you and you're still here, too, be sure to let me know you're still here watching, especially if it's some of the earlier names mentioned in the live show. But looking forward to that, and you guys and gals should look forward to that video too, because the build videos are, I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but the build videos, I typically seem to just, I don't know, I just shine, I just perform, they perform really well, and I'm really excited to edit them and plan them. I love, just all the production that goes into doing build videos. It's so much more than any other videos produced. But Your Highness was also here. A regular butter knife was my daughter. She was also here too. So it was awesome. Love to see my family stepping in. As Bad Habit says, so many good return parts there. Yeah, if you're talking about the used or the secondhand shelf, absolutely. And I explained why retailers have to do that. That it could be nothing, absolutely positively nothing wrong with those shelf parts or those open boxes, what is the retail term is referred to. But open box, you could find some really solid deals, and again, there's typically nothing wrong with those parts. It's just the by law, the retailer can't box it up and sell it as new, so they have to sell it at a reduced price. It could just be simply because the person who bought it, it was too big for their case, or maybe they bought, the wrong, maybe they bought the wrong motherboard, or they bought the wrong power supply unit, and so they can't put it back on the shelf as a new item. They have to sell it, on the used shelf. Sorry, I'm trying not to step on my cat down here. I thought he was okay. I thought he was down there. I didn't want to step on him. You don't want to step on your cat. But but yeah, sorry, I kind of lost train of thought there. Spider Roll says I'm still here. Oh, okay, awesome, Anthony. So yeah, uh, I was talking about building and building Ant's build. But we're going to get those details squashed out and settled out. And I do want to remind you, if you haven't yet and you popped in, that before you pop out and we conclude here, to do give this live stream a like, and subscribe if you haven't yet. So we have a lot of helpful content coming up here in the near future around lower end GPUs, build series that are coming up, and of course some other series on top of my. I got to give an update on my editing rig. Definitely got to give an update on my editing rig. So yeah, a lot of helpful content coming up. And for those of you who are just joining us, again, I do apologize. We are rounding out the end. We are actually at the very near end of this ride. What I would do is point you to other helpful content before you leave. If you want more inside the lab, jump down in the description box below. Please, please, please. Watch time is king. Watch time helps, as a creator. Watch time helps get the videos out in front of more people. Um, Jump down in the description box below if you want more live. We got live stream conversations. We got the highlight series that's still prominent and kicking over there. We have, the build series. We have the core shredder series, which is an oldie but goodie. And then we also have a few bangers, a few hits that spawned out of 20 or year one. And if you are a regular here and you've been here, listen, fam. Before we end, let me do say this: if you have been with the channel from year one. If you've been with the channel since year one, 2019, like the channel went live April 20th, 2019. If you've been with the channel since then up until this point now, you definitely want to watch the year two live stream. It was an awesome experience, and it's ironically one of my favorite videos we produced here. You can also find that video in the most recent playlist link, or you can head over to the channel homepage and find it as well. But that was just an amazing live stream that it's formatted differently. I consider it like an award show. You definitely want to give that a watch. But yep, again, the ride is slowly coming to an end. I'm getting hungry. Got to, take a restroom break. And I didn't want to leave you guys on live stream. I think last time I did that, I threw up the Real Return Soon stream. I came back. We lost like 2, 3 viewers. So I said, well, we're going to wait. But if you want to hang out in the post-credit scene, you're more than welcome to. I very much still linger and lurk back there, jump into the conversations, check to make sure I didn't miss any questions, and I still will very much engage auditorially with you in the chat. If you haven't yet seen the post credits, then you should also stick around and give it a watch. It's pretty cool. But if you want more lab again, head down in the comment section below for more content. But with that out of the way, thanks for hanging out during this YouTube live show. I do hope to catch you all in the next one. So until then, be easy, be cool, be safe, but most importantly, be cool. And I can't remember if I said that, but it don't matter. Be cool anyway. Hey, Bad Habit. Have a great night, fam. Have a great night. I meant to give a channel update. I thought about switching back to the wide cam. It's all good. I know we lost a lot of friends, but Bad Habit, have a great night. And I appreciate you being here as always. Everybody else, have a great weekend on this beautiful. If you're over here in the States, it's the holiday season. It's the holiday weekend. Enjoy your holiday. Be safe. Be responsible. And hopefully be cool. And I just want to add, if you are still here rocking out with us during the post credits, if you still have any questions about anything we talked about or any questions that revolves around PC gaming, you can still leave a question in the chat. Still here, still lurking, still willing to help you solve any of your pain points or any problems you may have, or help you make that leap, make that ascension over to PC gaming. What are you waiting for? Hey, leave your question in the live chat or down in the comment section below if you're watching on the replay. Everyone, have a good night again. Peace. joining. I want to recommend that you, at the end of this live stream concludes, jump back into it and watch it from the very beginning. We talked about 5 things I wish I had known before getting into PC gaming. 5 things you should know before you get into PC gaming. A lot of helpful tips, a lot of helpful information shared in this live stream. Do be sure to give it a like, rewatch it from the very top, and take in all of that helpful, value-ridden context that's going to help you avoid a lot of these mistakes and issues that I made and others made as we progress through our journey to make that switch from console to, say, PC gaming. And again, if you have any questions, I'm here. So you can ask me anything about PC gaming or about the topic at hand, and I will do my best to stick around and help you with any issues or problems you